All right, shalom, shalom, Yasharala. Shalom to the 12 tribes scattered to the four corners of the earth. All praise to the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'asham HaMashiach, Yahweh Shai. This is your brother Kanal,
Brother Ayal.
and we're coming back after a few weeks of not doing any lessons. We know life is all about seasons, and been busy doing other things, but Most High willing, this will be the first lesson, kind of coming back into the groove of getting at least a few lessons out every week, right? So this lesson is going to be titled Contentment versus Covetousness, right? So we're going to start in First Timothy 6:6.
But godliness with contentment is great gain.
So as I said, maybe some of y'all saw the video I posted a little while ago. When I first came into the truth or was coming into the faith, I saw some brothers breaking this verse down, and they basically were saying if you have food and you have shelter, that you should be content no matter what else is going on in your life. You should be content. And I think myself and others could take that or see that in a way of complacency, right? You're supposed to be content with everything that the Most High gave you, but that doesn't mean that you don't keep striving to do better or to do more, right? So being content, the definition of being content, according to the Cambridge Dictionary, is to be in a state of peaceful happiness. To be in a state of peaceful happiness. That's the adjective. The noun is a state of satisfaction, right? So just because you're in a state of satisfaction or you're in a state of peaceful happiness, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't strive to do more or to do better, right? But go ahead and read it one more time.
But godliness with contentment is great gain.
So godliness, which we know is following the word to the best of your ability, striving to live godly. And when you really break down that word to be godly, God in the Hebrew, the word God by itself is Allah, right? A lot of people say Allahayim or Elohim, but that's actually plural, right? Because Elohim or Allahayam, Yam is pluralizing something. So when you look at the word Allah, it actually means power, right? So living powerfully, living godly, and being content with it is great gain. You want to read that and keep going?
Kind. But godliness with contentment is great gain. For we brought nothing into this world, and it is certain we can carry nothing out.
Go ahead.
And having food and raiment, let us be therewith content.
So we should be content just having food and raiment, right? Food and clothing. So it's like my rib is pregnant. Most High willing, she's gonna give birth within the next month or so. And think about a baby, right? A baby coming out of the womb. What's the first thing they cry about?
Man, anything. Just being real.
But how are most mothers going to get them to stop crying? It's by giving them food, right? So this says, having food and raiment, let us be there with content. If a baby gets cold, they need raiment or they need some type of covering, and they're going to be more content. If they come out the womb and the mom starts breastfeeding them, they're going to be content, right? So that's what we need to be as well. We should be happy with having the necessities of life, right? Having the chief things of life. Matter of fact, if you want to get that out, Rokershaw, the having the chief things of life, and even though it says having food and raiment, let us be there with content. When you look at it spiritually, we have to have spiritual food as well, which the bread of life, the living waters, in order to be content spiritually, right? And raiment is a covering. So in order to have or to be content, we have to have some type of covering. As a man, that's Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. As a woman, it's a man through Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai.
This is Sirach chapter 29, verse 21. The chief thing for life is water and bread and clothing in a house to cover shame.
So these are the chief things of life. What are they?
Water and bread and clothing, and a house to cover shame.
Water, bread, clothing, and a house to cover shame. Right? So water, which could be the living waters, but also we can't live without water.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then bread, which is actual physical food, we can't live without eating, but that's the physical, but then the spiritual, the bread of life. Right? Like it says, as it is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes out of the Most High's mouth, which is the bread of life.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That hidden manna, so to speak, spiritually. And then also it says clothing or raiment. You need some type of covering. You wouldn't make it. None of us will make it out in the wilderness with no type of shelter for too long,
Mm-hmm.
right? Especially with how people have no survival skills in general.
Okay.
Then the last one is what?
It says water and bread, clothing, and a house to cover shame.
Con. So the raiment is clothing. We all need clothing, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
and then a house to cover shame, and that can also, when you really look at it, it's like being spiritually, physically, we know it could be a house of shelter, but it could also be being a part of the house of Israel and also having a house as a woman, so to speak.
Okay.
A man, it's not good that a man should be alone. So him having a house as well. And I've said that many times, and I've seen that many times in my walk where it's like in Sirach, it says that a woman could be a tower against death to her husband,
Mm-hmm.
and my rib has been that many times to me as well. So having a house in order to cover that shame, right? But going back to 2 Timothy, how it says godliness with contentment is great gain. So in the beginning of my walk, when I heard brothers break that down, the way they said it, in a sense, to sum it all up, was if you have food and you have clothing, you should be happy. All you need to worry about now or think about now is just getting right with the Most High and concentrating and focusing on your spiritual walk, which is true. I agree 100%. But we all do have different lots, right? So when it comes to contentment, you may have a brother, like I know a few brothers that they don't have a wife, and they're kind of like Paul, to where they're like, you know what, if I don't have one, I don't get one, that's fine with me.
Right.
There's brothers like that. That's not me.
Mm-mm.
That's not me at all, right? That's not this brother either. And but there are brothers like that, and that's perfectly fine. But you have to understand, with with any type of blessing comes more responsibility,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if you have a family, being content cannot mean complacency. Being content can't just be like, okay, we have a house and we have food and we're good, right? Let's just focus on nothing else physical. We're just gonna focus on pure spiritual, right? Which, if y'all didn't see that live that we did a while back about
Practicality.
practicality versus over spiritualizing, then I suggest y'all check it out when you get a chance, right? Because we have to understand that for every spiritual thing, there is a counter physical, like a physical counterpart to it,
Mm-hmm.
right? And vice versa. For every physical thing, you have the physical baptism, but you also have the spiritual. You have to have both in order to be balanced and complete in your walk. Do you have a precept, Art?
Time. Sirach chapter 40, verse 18. To labor and be content with that a man hath is a sweet life, but he that findeth a treasure is above them both.
Khan. So to labor and be content with what you have is a sweet life, right? But notice it doesn't say once you're content, you stop laboring,
Mm-mm.
right? Contentment only comes like through progress. And when I say that, I mean in the long term. Anybody can be content in the moment, right? Like, let's say this brother, like, he used to play football, right? Played college football. Let's say they're happy with how he's doing. Oh, he's a freshman and he got one interception. That's good, right? But if he stays at that level, he's not going to be content, and they're not going to be content with him, right? There's going to be other people that see, oh, he got one interception, and they're going to be coming. They're going to have a target on your back.
Real easy.
You got to get better and better, right? So it's the same thing in this walk spiritually, and it's also the same thing in any aspect of life, right? Or like me that did MMA, let's say I was doing, when I first started, I remember we had it's called an in-house tournament, and I was a white belt. I had probably been doing it for like 3 months, and the first person they put me with, an in-house tournament just means everybody from the gym comes on the weekend on the Sabbath,
All right.
and on the Sabbath, everybody puts in like 10, $20,
Oh,
and
man.
whoever wins the tournament, like between each other, amongst each other, gets all the money.
Gambling on Shabbat.
Right? Yeah. God, that's what we're doing. But this was way before I even knew anything about the truth, right?
Word.
I was in Christianity then. And long story short, the first dude I went against, they put me with, he had like 3 or 4 stripes on his white belt, right? And I remember he went for a takedown, and in like 5 seconds or less, he went for a takedown. And the only move that they had showed me so far that I was really getting was a guillotine. So he went for a takedown. I fell with the takedown, and I got him in a guillotine, and I choked him, right? And he tapped out real quick. And my coach was like, "Oh, damn! Like that's the 3 months. This guy's been here for like almost a year. That's." They were kind of blowing up my head, and I kind of let it get to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Through that, everybody else that was a higher rank saw me, and they were like, "All right, right?" They were like, "That's exactly what I'm gonna do to him now too." Right? So you can't. Though I was content with that, I still had to progress, or else it's not gonna do anything for me.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Or it's like me and this brother just ate some lamb. It's pretty good.
Blessing.
Right?
All praises.
I'm content. I'm content with that. All praise to the Most High.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean we're never going to eat again?
Nah.
Does that mean we're not going to make another meal, or get our wives to make another meal, or work to get another meal?
Nope.
Of course not. So being content, and I can tell y'all honestly that when I learned about contentment at the beginning, maybe 5 years ago, around there, maybe 6 years ago, I kind of took it as being complacent. I was like, all right, we got a house.
I did too, bro. It took me a little minute to learn what it really meant to be content, but still like balance at the same time. It took me a little while.
Because if being content means to be happy with what you have and happy in the position you are, that doesn't mean, okay, I'm gonna stop making progress.
Right.
Right. So if you could get Acts chapter, I think it's 20, chapter 20 and verse 32.
Okay.
Chapter 20 and 32. Matthew, Jason, shalom, shalom, shalom. It's funny because I'm struggling with being slothful, and I just got out the shower and I see you are on live explaining complacency. Khan. That's the spirit. Like Warrior's Dream just said, that's the spirit leading you. All praises to the Most High. Khan.
This is Acts chapter 20, verse 32. And now, brethren, I commend you to Yahweh and to the word of his grace, which is able to build you up and to give you an inheritance among all them which are sanctified.
Khan. So the word is able to do what?
Build you up.
It's able to build you up. Right? So when you're content, you're going to continue to try to build yourself up spiritually, mentally, even more so for sisters, but even for men, emotionally, learning how to control yourself, right? But also physically, right? And me and a brother were just talking about this the other day too, about like there's some people that teach it's being carnal to work out or to exercise. But that makes no sense because let's put it this way. When some of us were in Christianity, Catholicism, Apostolic Church, Mormons, all types of,
you name it,
right? Islam, when you went into a temple or a church, you basically like, in a sense, worshipped that temple, right? You would, if somebody was spray painting the temple, what would you do? You would get super pissed off, right?
You ready to fight for that one.
Yeah, God, you would probably fight them. But then you have people that tattoo their bodies and they don't see nothing wrong with it. Or if your church was falling apart, everyone's gonna see it as that's a bad thing, right? You would want to help take care of your church. You would put in money to take care of the church. Mm-hmm. So it's the same thing with our temple. If you want to get 1 Corinthians 3:16, real quick, giving a physical example, and then we'll go to the spiritual, right? Let's say if you're truly content and happy that the Most High has given you an able body, right? Because there's a lot of people that are handicapped. There's a lot of people Man, when I go to different stores,
Man,
when I go to different stores, there's so many people that I see with autism. And I remember when I was younger, it was like I never really saw any.
it's so crazy you brought this up because I meant to say this to you the other day, but this how I know it was through the spirit. It was meant for this lesson. I was at HEB the other day. Y'all don't know what that is. It's a grocery store, right?
It's like a Walmart kind of.
Basically, you got everything in there, right? More food than other stuff. So I go in there and I was with my rib and I pointed out. Uh, I think she was with me. I don't even remember. I'm gonna be honest, but I seen there's probably 3 or 4 people on one aisle, fat people, like obese, sitting in the little things that drive around and stuff. And I just sat there and I reflected for a moment, and I was just like, "What in the world is going on right now?" And I just sat there and thought to myself, like, "Wow, bro! Like y'all ain't even y'all can't even get up and walk down the aisle without huffing and puffing. Y'all got to drive around this little thing."
Con,
Blew my mind.
That's it. When we went to Sam's earlier, I saw a lady on one of those little electric carts, and my
Oh
rib
my
kind of moved the
goodness.
basket so she could go through, and she was like, "Oh, thank you." And I looked at her up and down real quick, and I was like, "That's why you're so big." You could tell when people aren't really, they're not handicapped.
Yeah.
They're just lazy.
Just lazy,
They're
bro.
just lazy. You know
That's
what I
how that's
mean?
how the other ones work. Because obviously you got in here some type of way.
God, you walked to the
Yeah.
little electric cart. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean?
You ain't got no car built in for you to pick that up like that. Yeah, you walked over there.
Uh, you want to get Proverbs 19 and 15?
Car.
19 and 15. So actually, you know what? 13 and 4 first. Because the brother said, where's it at? He was struggling with slothfulness, right?
Sluggers. Slothful man. I got verses for days on that.
Con.
This is Proverbs chapter 13, verse 4. The soul of the sluggard desireth and hath nothing, but the soul of the diligent shall be made fat.
So the soul of lazy people, their heart, their spirit, their mind, it even says your soul is going to desire a lot of things. But what are you going to have?
Not a thing.
Nothing, because you're lazy, you're a sluggard.
Mm-hmm.
And all of us have fallen into this at one point or another.
Yep.
Before the truth and even striving to walk in the truth, right? And I know that's a huge problem for a lot of people. And going back to the physical example that I was going to give a minute ago, right? There's a lot of people that, and I can think of at least a few or a handful of people that have talked to me about that when it comes to their physical appearance, like weight, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you're truly content with what the Most High has given you, as I was saying, an able body, you're able to run, to walk, to work out, whatever it is. Like, you don't have to lift heavy weights. If that's what you want to do, then all right.
So be it.
You want to do body weight type of stuff, you just do air squats, push-ups, pull-ups, whatever. You want to do something more practical, realistic, boxing, kickboxing, jiu-jitsu, wrestling.
Man, just go outside and flip a cinder block brick or something.
Right? Any type of physical exercise is going to help you more than just sitting around watching Netflix or being on your phone all the time or just being slothful, right? So when you're truly content with what the Most High has given you, you're going to strive to be built up, like we read in Acts the 20th chapter. Whether that be physically, you're like, man, you know what? I know this person that's handicapped. They can't even work, right? They're on disability or whatever the case may be, or they have some type of physical or mental ailment to where they can't even do these things. So if you're truly content and happy and thankful for that, then you're going to strive to do better. And then also in your spiritual walk, right? There's certain people, there's a lot of people that I know that when I was in the truth or coming into the truth, into the faith, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 year ago, and they're not in the truth or not striving to follow the word anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So that should also be an indicator to you that you should be thankful and you should put in more work and you should be striving just to make progress all the time. Right? And that doesn't have to mean like say for example, you want to get in physical shape. You don't have to go and okay, today I'm gonna do 1,000 push-ups. It's gonna burn you out.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There's a lot of people that are, oh, I read 3 chapters today. 5 chapters today. And what I always ask them is, okay, what stuck with you?
Yeah, what you retain.
Yeah, what did you get out of it that you're gonna apply to your life? And if you can't get nothing out of those 5 chapters, then what was the point of doing it?
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's like going through a workout and you just half-ass it the whole way. Right? You're barely gonna get anything out of it. So it's better to, if you read 2 or 3 precepts on slothfulness, since that's what we're talking about, right? And you just read 2 or 3 precepts the whole day, you're just going back to them, and just every time you get a chance and you apply it to your life, that's going to be 1,000 times more beneficial than if you read 10 chapters in one day, right? So being content is only going to come with progress, like I was saying, because you always have to keep progressing in this walk, right? If you want to, what are you holding up?
This one is Tobit chapter 5 verse 19. For that which Yahweh hath given us to live with doeth suffice us.
Calm. What he gives us will suffice us, right? And again, the things that he gives us, it's sufficient for us. But at the same time, it's like this, right? If the brother y'all was like a fresh new person coming to learn jujitsu, right?
Mm-hmm.
He brand new. The first thing you're gonna show him is like the different positions. Okay, full mount, back mount, side mount, guard, half guard, the
Mm-hmm.
main positions. That's sufficient for him to learn at first. Then it's gonna be like, okay, let me show you submission. This is called a guillotine, right? If I give him too much the first day or the first week, first month even, he's gonna remember a whole lot of nothing.
So, Laki, I'm actually glad you said that, because let me go ahead and read the verse prior to that just for context. Right? Verse 18 says, Be not greedy to add money to money, but let it be as refuse in respect of our child. For that which Yahweh hath given us to live with, do it suffice us. So basically what you were saying, that obviously you're supposed to be content with what the Most High has given you, but it just says don't be greedy. It don't say not to try to go for more and try to progress, but just don't be greedy. So using your example, if you was teaching me, what I'm saying, how to fight, I'm not gonna be greedy. Concrete is obviously sufficient for that moment.
And to be greedy means to have a selfish desire for something, right? So being greedy, and this is like me and my rib talked about this the last time when we studied contentment, right? It's like this. There's let's say I'm not married and I don't have children, right? And I'm like, man, I want to get okay, so like in my house, 1, 2, 3, there's 4 rooms. Let's say I'm like, man, I want to get this big house with 4, 6, 8, 10 rooms, but I live by myself. Is that being greedy?
Very.
That's more than is sufficient for me, right? Or let's say I'm like I'm by myself and I'm like, man, I want a Suburban or an Escalade. I don't even have no friends, but
for what?
Exactly, for what, right? That's being greedy. So now, if I was okay, so before we got this place where we're staying at now, there was a house that we were gonna get, or we were looking to get. It was 4.5 acres. That's the only reason I wanted to get it, because it was so many acres.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a 1 bedroom, 1 bath house. And I was like, you know what? I'll split. The first thing I'll do is I'll split it in 2. Yeah. But I have 4 children, right?
Right.
I'm gonna split the one room. That it was a decent sized room, but even then, 4 children in one room, and then me and my rib in another. And then I was like, over time, I'll build another room, and then I'll add another room, right? And when the Most High made it happen to where we were looking at it and trying to get it, somebody else just flat out just made an offer, and they got it, right?
It was supposed to be.
It was, and at that time, I'm not even gonna lie, I was like, damn, I wanted that place. It even had like horse stables and everything. It was fenced and everything. It was a real cheap price. But long story short, my rib was like, well, I mean, it wasn't the Most High's plan, and I was like, I know it wasn't, but damn, you know what I mean?
It's like, dang, still.
So being content and not being greedy. As a matter of fact, can you get Proverbs 25:16? Remember we did a lesson on that. As much honey is sufficient for you, right?
That's the first verse I thought about too when you mentioned it.
So having what's sufficient for you, sometimes we don't even know what's sufficient for us.
Man, say that again. Right?
Sometimes we don't know what's sufficient for us, and the Most High has to show us what's sufficient for us, right? Because before, even like before we got this place, we were like, you know what? Let's get a bus, and then we'll get another bus, and we'll connect them because we have 4 children, and things just didn't go out the way that we planned because we're supposed to end up where we're at now.
Mm-hmm.
But go ahead.
Proverbs chapter 25, verse 16. Hast thou found honey? Eat so much as is sufficient for thee, lest thou be filled therewith and vomited.
Calm. So when you find honey, something sweet, right? And obviously, we know, like John said, and also like it says in Proverbs, I believe in Sirach as well, when it goes down to your stomach, it becomes bitter. Sufficient for you, lest thou be filled therewith and vomited. So a lot of times, and me too, in the past, I've done that. When you look at it spiritually, I would study a whole bunch or read a whole bunch, but then it's like I can't even hold it down. Like when you eat too much and you so much, you got to throw it up.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I haven't done that in years and years, but you eat so much, you throw it up. That's the same thing with the word. When you eat it and it's like honey and it's sweet and you just keep reading, but you can't hold it in your mind because it's too much for you. You got to take it in piece by piece. Right? So that's one way of looking at it, but also anything that is good for you, like they say, too much of a good thing is a bad thing.
Too much of the healthiest thing on this planet can kill you.
Exactly, right? So the healthiest, you drink too much water, you can actually drown your lungs.
Yep.
You could drown yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to being content, you you have to be making progress, but at the same time, you don't want to be doing too much to where it's not even benefiting you. Right? I can't remember who said it. I had seen it. Someone had posted a reel a while back, and basically what they had said was that you just because you're moving a lot or may have it, you have a lot of movement doesn't mean you're making progress, but you're not making any progress. The MMA gym I was at, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And this brother said, I wouldn't say that I am slothful when it comes to studying. I have so many perfect precepts and it's hard to keep track of them all. I say this humbly.
I got a precept for you too.
Con.
As soon as you said that.
Go ahead.
Proverbs chapter 4, verse 13. This is the precept right here that really helped me up. Take fast hold of instruction. Let her not go. Keep her, for she is thy life. Take fast instruction. So when you read something, what I used to do is this, and I still do it to this day. When you read something, it ain't about how much you read, like how the brother just said. It's not about how much you read within one day. It's about what you actually apply within that day, right? I would read, and as I was going through that first chapter, I would read every verse real slow and careful, every single piece of it, and I would try to ask myself 3 questions. Have I applied this recently? How can I apply this? Or I try to think of an example of a time period when I applied it, just to make sure I'm actually doing it. You know what I'm saying? But the key is, though, it says take fast hold of instruction. You reading the word by itself is instruction, right? So when you read that, take fast hold of it, right? You might not be slothful in the scriptures, like how you're saying, but it's all about application of knowledge. Knowledge, wisdom, and understanding go hand in hand. All 3 of them do. The knowledge of the Bible is what you have. Wisdom is actually applying that. By you applying it, right, or even before you can apply it, you got to have some type of understanding in order for you to do it. So,
and that's good because that goes perfectly with 2 Corinthians 13:5, how it says to examine yourself.
yeah.
Right? Because if you're not examining yourself, then in reality you're just hearing or reading the word. A lot of people read it, right? And I would do that at first too, where I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna go straight through Genesis. It's all a whole bunch of names anyways.
I thought so for like the first 20 times I ever opened it up.
Right, but you can't really get. That's why it says precept must be upon precept, line upon line, here a little, there a little. But even when you go precept upon precept, if you're not doing what the brother said, like, okay, how can this apply to my life? What's an example of this? Am I applying this in my life? Then you're just gonna be a hearer of the word. Right? And this is James 1:22. It says, "But be ye doers of the word, and not hearers only, deceiving your own selves." Right? So when you're reading the word, or you have all the precepts and stuff like that, right, and you're not actually applying them, you can deceive your own self to think that you're in the truth or in the faith. And that's why it says, examine yourself whether or not you're actually in the faith or in the truth, right? Because that's why I've said it many times, being in the truth and knowing of the truth is two different things.
Two different things.
Right?
There's a way to a man which seemeth right. Everybody's ways seem right in their own eyes.
But the end thereof is the ways of death.
And Yahweh is gonna ponder your heart. You know what I'm saying?
So we just, that's just something we all have to be. Everybody.
I'm guilty of it. I've done it before.
Everybody's done that, and that's why everybody has to work out their own salvation when it comes to examining themselves. Because if you don't have, let's put it this way, if you don't have a rib who you're one flesh with, there's not really many other people that are going to help to examine you or point out things like that, right? And even when you have so-called brothers or sisters in the truth, a lot of times if you do point something out to them, they're not going to like it, and they're going to see you as an enemy, right? Am I therefore your enemy because I tell you the truth?
Full soul,
right? There's people that I know have either started to despise or even cut off me or my rib or other people around me just because they correct them, right? You want to read this real quick, Art?
This is Revelation chapter 1, verse 3. Blessed is he that readeth, and they that hear the words of this prophecy, and keep those things which are written therein, for the time is at hand.
So you'll be blessed not only for reading, not only for hearing, but for keeping those things or doing those things that are written in the word, right? And again, like the title says, contentment and progress versus covetousness and complacency. Complacency goes hand in hand with being slothful, like the brother said, slothful when it comes to not applying the scriptures.
And it's just like Yahweh Shai had said in Matthew, you know what I'm saying? He that heareth these things and actually doeth them, right? You're going to be likened unto a wise man building his house upon a rock. But if you hear him and you don't do them, you just reading it like a novel book, you know what I'm saying? Then you're going to be the person that built your house on sand, then you're not going to last. And there was somewhere in Matthew, paraphrasing, where it talked about if you build a house spiritually, so to speak, and then the fire comes and your house get consumed, you're going to get messed up.
And that whole parable goes perfectly with what I just read in James, the first chapter 2, because it says that when you build a house on sand, right? Isn't that a foolish thing to do? Isn't it? Like let's say somebody builds a house on sand and they actually think it's going to stand for a long time, right? It's like it said in James, the first chapter, that you're deceiving your own self when you're not doing what you're reading or what you're learning. It's like your knowledge or your understanding is built on sand. It's not going to last for very, very long because you're not actually applying it, right? And yeah, the brother said the water I needed that advice. I believe that was about the examine yourself.
All praise to the Most High.
So contentment, like I said, it comes really with progress, because if you're not making progress, let's say you come into the truth, or you come into the knowledge of the truth, and you're happy the Most High is giving you wisdom, and he's giving you understanding, and he's giving you knowledge of the scriptures and things of that nature. But let's say you stop. Let's say you get content with it, and it leads you to be complacent, to where you don't feel like you need to keep studying as before, or applying as much as before, right? Then you're gonna start seeing other brothers, in a sense, pass you up when it comes to, let's say me and this brother came into the faith at the same time, and me and him are like how it says in Proverbs, what is it, 27:17, I believe, where it says man sharpens his neighbor.
Yeah, iron sharpening iron.
So if we're like that and we came into the faith at the same time, and then I kind of slow down and I get complacent, and then I see this brother quoting more and more and more and more scriptures, and I'm like, damn, because I got complacent, right? It's gonna lead to, in a lot of cases, me getting covetous of what he's possessing, but in the end, it's because he's reaping what he sows, right? You got a precept?
Fine. This precept is actually perfect to something you said a little bit earlier and what we're talking about right now about being content, but also making progress. Sirach chapter 33, verse 27. I'm pretty sure you already know it because you quoted it many times before. Send him to labor that he be not idle, for idleness teacheth much evil. The key is, it says, send him to labor that he be not idle. If you're idle, that means you are at a standstill, complacency. And it says, send him to labor that he be not idle, right? If we're supposed to labor, right, and be content with what we have, but we're supposed to continue to labor, you don't labor to stay in the same area. You know what I'm saying? You don't make money just to stay in the same spot. You save, you stack up the money. You feel what I'm saying? Even though you might spend it on stuff you might need it for. So
always striving to do better, right? Whether it be in the truth, whether it be, or like I said earlier about working out and stuff, right? Let's say you do 50, you can do 50 push-ups. You're doing sets of 50, sets of 50. After a few weeks or a month maybe, you're gonna try to do more. It doesn't make sense to just keep doing the same thing over and over and over. That would be like, okay, I'm just gonna read the book of Proverbs my whole life. There's much more. We could never attain knowledge of all the scriptures.
Never.
Right? So we could be content with, man, the water, Yahweh, I'm happy with what you're giving me. But to stay in a spirit of contentment, it takes thankfulness. It's like the video that I made a little while ago. It takes thankfulness, but then it takes work. And with that work is going to come progress. And as you're progressing, you're going to see the progress you're making, and you're going to stay in that spirit of contentment because you're continuing to make progress.
Little do you know, the Most High give you more when you're content with what you got. You got to be content and be faithful with the little bit he gave you, just in order for you to give more.
Exactly. Can you get Proverbs 10:4, Baba Shah? The brother said, Khan, sometimes I get too much scripture and get complacent. I know there's a scripture talking about not being too rich and too poor. Khan, Proverbs 30:8. We're gonna go there in just a second.
Yeah, that's the one. I pray that all the time.
I was gonna finish with that, but since you brought it up, we'll go to that in just a second.
Got you. This is Proverbs chapter 10, verse 4. He becometh poor that dealeth with a slack hand, but the hand of the diligent maketh rich.
So you're gonna become poor if you're dealing with a slack hand. Let's say you're working hard in the scriptures, or let's say you're working hard in the scriptures, you become rich with knowledge and understanding compared to how you were before, right? Or let's say that you're getting rich with building up your temple, and you're physically working out not every day, let's say 4 or 5 days a week, right? But then as soon as you start getting that slack hand, it's going to start slipping, right? And I know because there was a brother that used to go out and teach with me and stuff like that. And as he started slipping from studying and slipping off into things of the world, he couldn't even quote scriptures that he would before, right? He couldn't remember even the book, chapter, verse, or things like that, right? The Most High will take away even the little that you have, like the scriptures say.
Take heed to how you hear.
Khan. So you got to take heed to how you hear, and also to how you're applying, right? Because when you start dealing with a slack hand, he's going to make you poor. If you work out for 2 months, 3 months straight, and then you get slack and you stop working out for a month or two, you're going to see how your health is going to get physically more and more poor, right?
The next verse go along with it as well too. Verse 5. It says, he that gathereth in summer is a wise son, but he that sleepeth and harvest is a son that causeth shame. If you gather anything, right? If we use this in a physical sense here, if you gather anything, what does that mean? You're increasing something. So you might be content with what the Most High gave you as far as what your harvest is. Like, oh, if the brother goes out here, I know he had a garden recently. What this is previous Babylonian year, because we're not, they don't go off the Hebrew time how the Babylonians do and stuff, right? But he was planting and stuff, and the harvest that he had for the Feast of First Fruits when that came around, right? I'm sure the brother was content with that, right? But in order for him to harvest that, he increased more food than what he already had. You know what I'm saying? So obviously he was content, but he was still increasing. But if you don't increase, it says he that sleepeth. If you sleep in your harvest and you don't get anything at all, you become complacent. That's where the shame come in. So same exact thing.
And that's me and my rib were talking about that too, because we were not too long ago, I had one of my daughters, my oldest daughter, count up all the calories that we have saved or stored up for the future, right? Now I was surprised with the amount of calories that we were just going off of calories, right? And I was like, man, that's a lot. That's enough for so many months for us to eat, right? But at the same time, we can't get complacent. We're still gonna try to add to that because we're a household of 6 and another baby on the way. That's 7. So what was to happen if we're complacent, we're content, like, man, the water Yahweh, we're able to save up this much. But if we're complacent, that's gonna run out in that amount of months,
real quick,
right? Even if we're gonna eat less because whatever, maybe there's no more stores or Jacob's trouble, blah blah blah. If we don't keep adding onto it or keep building it up, eventually it's gonna deplete to where we have nothing.
Exactly.
Right? You got a preset?
No, I was just this was just a one.
Want to read that?
I literally was looking at this earlier. I was gonna pull this. Proverbs chapter 20, verse 13. Love not sleep, lest thou come to poverty. Open thine eyes, and thou shalt be satisfied with bread. Sometimes I be sleepy in the morning before I go to work, bro. And I told my rib this. I was like, bro, you know how you be half sleep, half awake.
Yeah.
You're not even conscious of nothing right now. That verse will pop in my mind out of nowhere, and I jump up so quick.
Love not sleep, lest thou come to poverty. Right? There's. Let's put it this way: when you love the Most High in the sense of living out your role or your duty, right? And that's another lesson Most High Willing could do soon, is on like roles. And it's gonna be about patriarchy too, mainly. But on roles, when you love your role, like I've told my rib many times, like sometimes my job is super stressful, especially physically. But at the same time, I like to do it. I wouldn't say love to do it, but I like to do it because it enables me to provide for my household in the way that I'm supposed to. Right? It gives us everything we need, and then it also gives us more to like get ready for things to come. Right? So when it says love not sleep, lest thou come to poverty, there are people, and I told my rib too, and she was kind of laughing. I was like, I've heard you, and I've heard your sister say, man, I love sleeping. Bruh. I've heard y'all say that before. She was cracking up about it, right? But I was like, in a sense, as a man, you can never love sleep because it's going to lead to poverty.
You can like it, but you can't love
right? It. So you have to love living out your role as a provider more than sleep or relaxing. And that's why on Sabbath, man, I'll sleep in. Every Sabbath for the last month, I've been sleeping in, bro.
Man, I be knocked out.
I'll sleep in, and then we'll do something. We'll study, maybe go for a walk, whatever, and then I'll take a nap.
Go right back to sleep.
Right? It's our day of rest. And if the Most High said, even he rested, then we should rest too. But it says, love not sleep, lest thou come to poverty. Open thine eyes, and thou shalt be satisfied with bread. This could also go spiritually. A lot of people love to be spiritually asleep, especially when it comes to the things that are like happening right now. A lot of people think that just because they're studying the scriptures, or just because they're reading a lot, etc., that they're doing well, right? But faith without works is dead. Especially, again, going back to Lot's, especially as a man, if you have a family, if you have a wife or wives or a child or children, then you have more of a duty to, you have more things to do. You have to be more, you have to be awake more than just a brother that is by himself. He only has himself to worry about.
Definitely.
Right? Because it's like I told my rib, I was like, man, if I was single, I could just live out of a van or something.
Be cool.
You know, like you put a bed in there, you have a little restroom,
cool.
a little stove. I would be perfectly fine with that. But since I have a large family, it's a lot different. And being content has to come with progress, especially physically, especially when you have a family, right? Because if you're not content and making progress with yourself, is going to lead to covetousness. So if you want to get that in, I'm not sure what verse it is, but in Exodus 20, the tenth commandment, thou shalt not covet, right? It's very important to not fall into a spirit of covetousness.
I think it's like 15. Let me see.
Especially with, like I had mentioned in that video briefly.
17. I was close.
Well, go ahead and read it.
This is Exodus chapter 20, verse 17. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's.
So you are not supposed to covet anything that is your neighbor's. Anything. Covet, the definition of covet is to yearn, to possess, or have something. Have something that is not yours, that's actually a sin.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So when you're not, like I was telling my rib, and I told a brother, and then I mentioned in that video, everybody looks at social media, and without even realizing it, a lot of times they fall into a spirit of covetousness.
Guilty.
Right? Everybody's, it's happened to everybody. So that's why I highly suggest, and I told many brothers and sisters this, that you don't follow so many people. Right? The real example we're supposed to be following is Yahushai. Right? So for me personally, it's like if people aren't posting about the word, which Yahushua was the word in the flesh, then there's really no reason for me to be following them in the first place.
To be honest.
Right? And I've even had many people, hey, can you follow me, Ak? Or hey, brother, can you follow me? And all they post is selfies, or all they post it's not pertaining to the Most High. And I'll say it nicely, but like I only follow people that post the word. Right? And because it leads to covetousness.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody's always posting money, how many people have you seen?
Bruh, you know how many people I used to follow that was doing that shit?
So what did it make you want?
I started coveting a lot of shit, bruh, and that's just being real. Like, this is before I even came into the truth. I spent not majority of my life, but yeah, I'm gonna be real. Majority of my life, bruh, I spent all that time coveting other people's shit and their lifestyle. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So,
and we've all fallen into that.
I used to want to find the things in life what I thought was finer in life, you know, as a worldly person. So,
same here. You want to get Luke 12 and 23? So one example is there was a sister not too long ago, right, that had showed me something, and there's a website. I'm not sure if any of y'all are familiar with it, but it's called Shein. It's like a clothes website, right?
I often say, is that some transsexual shit?
So it's a clothing website, right?
Oh, okay.
And through the spirit of the Most High, you know, she kind of showed me something, and I saw, you could see like the little cart at the top, you know, and she had about 300 items in her cart.
Damn, dog.
So now
she ain't even buy the shit.
Using discernment, you know, if you look at something, say you're looking at whether it be clothing or like items and stuff like that, you're going to go through 10, 20, 50, 100 items before you find one that you're like, I like that. Mm-hmm. So if you're to the point where you got 300 items in your cart, how many items do you think you have looked through? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And that in itself is being in the covetous spirit.
Oh, this.
Right? And in the end, what it comes down to is you're not content with yourself. Right? And that's something that someone had pointed out to me a while back too, years ago, when it came to like I like you said, I wanted the finer things in life,
quote unquote.
right? The fine. I like Jordans, and I liked
I loved a lot of jewelry, money,
jewelry.
fancy cars. I used to want mansions and shit. All that.
So what good does all of that do for to you or for you,
Ain't gonna do shit, but
right?
you gonna. Cyrac tells you ain't gonna get no sleep. I tell you that
Yep.
because you
A
watch for
rich
your
man.
riches.
Yep. A rich man isn't gonna get no sleep, and in the end, it comes down to not being content with yourself, because it's like a poor person if you grow up with not that much money, right? And there's no way you could afford Jordans. There's no way you could afford a Mercedes or a BMW or stuff like that, right?
Or an Aeropostale jacket.
But
back when it first came out.
so back then you couldn't afford it. So when you get older, that sticks with you subconsciously. And when you get older, even if you can't afford it, right? You still are gonna make it a point to get these things to make yourself feel more fulfilled. That symbol, whether it be a Mercedes Benz symbol or a Air Jordan, the Jumpman symbol, you putting it on your body or you riding around in it is a symbol of like you made it. But then once you get it, you realize like, damn, this I still feel like shit.
It's funny you say that because I realized two different things. First thing is obviously what you just said. I know from my own personal experience because the Most High allowed me to get to a position in my life to realize certain shit that I didn't need and that really didn't satisfy me. I've had a position of status before, and I mean this all in the most humble way possible. This is something I hope somebody who hears this can learn something from this, right? If you're struggling with it. I got to a position before in my life where I had my own businesses and everything. I had like 3 to 4 different businesses, entrepreneur, all that. And I had a position of status, and I thought that's what I wanted most of my life. That was not what I wanted when I actually got it. I had a whole fuck ton of money, you know what I'm saying? And I blew it all, realizing that I wasn't responsible enough, and that didn't make me happy. That's why I spent so much of it. And sure enough, it's like what the brother was saying, you feel me? A lot of things is not what you really think it is. You know, and I'm sitting there thinking to myself, this is the second thing I realized as we having this conversation through spirit. It's a difference between wanting something and needing something. If you need something, it's very rare that you ever come across as coveting something or being not content because you need it. But if you actually want something, that's when you walking on a thin line because it's like you got to be careful what you want. You know what I'm saying? If you want the wrong thing for the wrong reason, you want it, being a miss, right? That's you coveting and not being content. You know what I'm saying? Nothing wrong with us wanting things every now and then, but you got to be mindful of everything.
And I agree 100%. And it's like I talked to you about it many times as well. And I told many brothers and sisters is that a lot of times it's when you're content with what you have and you don't ask for or want all these other things that all these other things come to you. And in like before the truth and stuff, it was like law of attraction. You have to want it. You have to, you know what I mean? But it's actually sometimes, or from my experience, a lot of times it's the opposite.
Yeah.
It's when you, as a matter of fact, if you want to get 1 Kings 3, I'll get the verse right now. Like with Solomon, right? What did Solomon ask for?
He just asked for discernment, man. Understand the heart.
An understanding.
So he can lead his people.
So
gave him plenty.
Go ahead and start on verse 5, Baba Shah.
This is 1 Kings chapter 3, starting at verse 5. In Gibeon, Yahweh appeared to Solomon in a dream by night. And Yahweh said, ask what I shall give thee.
So the Most High asked Solomon what he wanted him to give him. Go ahead and jump to 9.
Verse 9. Give therefore thy servant an understanding heart, to judge thy people, that I may discern between good and bad. For who is able to judge this, thy so great a people?
So of all the things that he could ask for, he asked for an understanding heart so he could discern between good and bad. Go ahead.
And the speech pleased Yahweh, that Solomon had asked this thing. And Yahweh said unto him, because thou hast asked this thing, and hast not asked for thyself long life, neither hast asked riches for thyself, nor hast asked the life of thine enemies, but hast asked for thyself understanding to discern judgment, behold, I have done according to thy word. Lo, I have given thee a wise and understanding heart, so that there was none like thee before thee, neither after thee shall any arise like unto thee. And I have also given thee that which thou hast not asked, both riches and honor, so that there shall not be any among the kings like unto thee all thy days.
So he asked for an understanding heart and discernment and wisdom. And the Most High said, you know what? That pleases me that you didn't ask for money, you didn't ask for riches, you didn't ask for honor or respect. So I'm going to give you all these things as well. Right? So just by him being content with, okay, I'm good with wisdom, I'm good with discernment. And the Most High added all these other things to him. Right? So when you are in a spirit of covetousness, right, and you just want all these other things that aren't going to be beneficial to you, why would the Most High give them to you?
Mm-hmm.
He may allow the enemy to try and give them to you or tempt you with them, right? But that's where you fall into loving things and in reality, like loving money. Which actually, could you go back to 1 Timothy 6? Let's go chapter 6, verse 6, and then we'll keep going down. Because it specifically says that, I believe it's verse 10, where it says not to love money.
Yeah. 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 6. But godliness with contentment is great gain. For we brought nothing into this world, and it is certain we can carry nothing out. In having food and raiment, let us be therewith content. But they that will be rich fall into temptation and the snare, and into many foolish and hurtful lusts, which drown men in destruction and perdition. For the love of money is the root of all evil, which while some coveted after, they have erred from the faith and pierced themselves through with many sorrows.
So having or becoming rich, you're going to fall into temptations, because the more money you have, the more temptations are going to come along with it. The more people that are not in the spirit are going to come along with it. It says with those riches is going to come a snare, right? And many foolish people not moving in wisdom, and hurtful lusts, which drown men in destruction and perdition. They drown you in it, right? For the love of money is the root of all evil, which while some coveted after. So again, coveting after money, it's not bad to have money or to want money for the right reasons.
The defense.
If you money and wisdom are defense, right?
Yep.
But
7 and 12.
But it has to be for the right reasons. There's a big difference between I want money to buy 300 outfits, or I want money to prepare my house for the things to come, my family for the things to come.
Straight like that.
Right? There's a big difference between I want money so I can buy jewelry,
yep,
or I want money so that I can put solar on my house so that when the electricity goes out,
we got some power.
We got power. And my children don't got to be in the dark.
Yep.
There's a big difference between those two. And that's why it says the love of money is the root of all evil. And when you covet after it, it's going to cause you to err from the faith and pierce yourself through with many sorrows. Because when you're chasing money, or
yourself.
You're just going to destroy yourself. The Most High never told us to chase money. Just like he never told us another thing. When did he tell us to chase happiness?
He tell you chase wisdom. That's it.
Right? You are not supposed to chase women, happiness, money, none of these things. Right? It's okay to work for money. You have to work for wisdom, right? But wisdom, like the brother said, is the only thing you should be really chasing after. And when you do, it's going to lead to contentment. And when you do, it's going to lead to progress. And when you do, chasing after money, like if I was to chase this brother, I'm not complacent when I'm doing that, am I?
Nah.
I'm moving.
Yeah.
So by me doing so after wisdom, all these other things, like Yahushua said in Matthew the 6th chapter, right? All these other things are going to be added unto you when you seek the kingdom first.
All you got to look for.
Right? You seek wisdom, and through wisdom, it's going to tell you, be prudent. It's going to tell you, go to the ant thou slugger, like you posted earlier. It was today, right? I believe.
Yeah.
Like it says in Proverbs 6, be like the ant. What does the ant do? He works, right? He's not complacent. He's not covetous. And why is he not covetous? Because he's not worried about, well, look how green the grass is over. Look at the other colony.
He worry about his own shit.
Right? Look at that colony. They got so much food. That's not how they are, right?
He worry about his own stuff.
right? So let's go to Wisdom of Solomon 2, chapter 2 and verse 23.
It's a good chapter. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 2, verse 23. For Yahweh created man to be immortal and made him to be an image of his own eternity.
So remember, it said godliness with contentment is great gain. Godliness with contentment, right? So it says Yahweh, or here how it's written is for God, which again, for our power, Yahweh, created man to be immortal and made him to be an image of his own eternity. We were made in the image of the Most High, like it says in Genesis, right?
24.
Con, I believe it's 1 and 20. Or you know what? Real quick. When it says, so what do you take when it says made in, or how could you connect these two? For God created man to be immortal and made him to be an image of his own eternity. And then you compare that with where it says in 1 Timothy 6 and 6, godliness with contentment is great gain.
Well, I mean, if I think to compare it, you know what I'm saying? This is how I think of it. When Yahweh, the Most High God, right, as y'all may know, created the heavens and the earth all throughout Genesis, he was content after the 7 days. Like, after he made everything, he was content. He said, okay, let there be light. He saw it was good. He was content with what the light looked like. He said, let there be, stars in the skies, right? He was content with how everything was. If the Most High God can be content with what he, whatever he has created, then we should be content the same way. So it says we were made to be immortal, right? I mean, we know that immortal means you don't die. Initially, that was the purpose for everybody, was to live forever until the first man went off. But it says that we were made in his own image of his own eternity. The way I look at it, and I could be wrong, right? But the way I view it is, is that we have the same traits that he has, because Yahweh, he still has emotions. He still has, feelings. You know, it's really not much I can say about it. You know what I'm saying? He has emotion and feelings like humans do as well, too. He's just the divine, almighty creator of everything.
Anger, jealousy,
all of
right?
that, you feel me? So if he can be content, we're supposed to be content. If he rested, we supposed to rest. You know what I'm saying? So if we got the same traits he got, then that says it all, in my opinion.
Khan, I agree 100%. And when you look at the word again, God in the Hebrew is Allah, or God's is Alachayim, right? Which is normally the word that people use or put, because when it says God, like for example, in Exodus, I believe it's 7, where it says, where the Most High said, I have made you a God unto Pharaoh. He's talking about Moses. He says, I have made you a God unto Pharaoh, and your brother Aaron is your prophet. Right? So God just means power. So when we look at it, like the Most High created us to be like him, we should be moving in power too. So when it says godliness with contentment is great gain, like what gives us power more than wisdom?
The Most High don't want to give you power.
Right? He gives you power through you moving in wisdom. So if we can move in wisdom and be content with that, what else? What more could we gain?
What can you need?
And again, think about it this way: gain does not mean complacency. Gain means you keep going and keep going, yep. Right? So if you're moving in godliness or in power and you're content, you're gonna keep gaining and keep gaining and keep gaining, right? And that's like when we were talking about like blessings and curses and stuff. That's why I said, and I know at least one person had a real problem with me saying it's hard to believe like some people are moving in the spirit or following the commandments
in sincerity
when they're not, when you don't see any physical blessings. Because when you look at the blessings in Deuteronomy 28, just those, the first verse down to 14, they're physical blessings, right? So
some of the blessings, like I noticed that some of the blessings actually come when you don't even ask them. He sometimes forces you to get them. Like, for example, I feel like even if I wouldn't have asked the Most High to let me pursue the old paths, he would have forced me in a position.
Khan, if he has, it's like with Jonah, whatever the Most High's will was for Jonah, and Jonah was like, the Most High was like, go to Nineveh, preach to them. He was like, I'm gonna get on the boat and I'm gonna go in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
Then the Most High put him in the belly of hell, right? And for 3 days, in a big fish's stomach, and it said he was in the belly of hell for 3 days, and then he still had to go to Nineveh and preach to the people.
He's gonna force you, but he didn't ask to go to Nineveh,
right? and then he was mad at the end because the Most High didn't destroy the people.
Yep.
So,
all this for this.
So he was like, well, you had me do all this and come preach to them, and then you're not even going to destroy them. You're going to have mercy on them, right? So it goes to show what the brother was saying. Like, if the Most High has a plan for you, we're all hard-headed and stiff-necked at some point in time, right? And that hard-headedness and stiff-neckedness could lead us to like try to get away from the Most High's will, but you can't get away from the Most High's will. No matter what you do.
Man, no matter what you try to do.
No matter what you do. The Most High could be like, you know what, you're going to follow me. And you're like, no, I'm going to go do this and I'm going to go do that.
Come back.
He's going to bring you right back. He's going to make you go through some stuff. He's going to put you in the belly of hell. And then you're going to come back to him. And then you're going to be like, damn, if I would have just done it in the first place.
I wouldn't have to go through all this.
Right? So sometimes people, they put them, like, say you have a job, right? And you know it's not a good job for you spiritually, whatever. Yeah, I'm gonna, you know what? Nah, I know it's bad for me spiritually, but I'm gonna write it out, whatever. The Most High is he's gonna make sure you lose that job if he really wants you to follow him.
Me and Freddie.
So con, or a relationship too. Let's say you're trying to be with somebody and you're trying to make it work out, and the Most High is like, I'm setting you apart from myself, like it says in Psalms.
He gonna, man, I promise you, he gonna force you, bro.
He's gonna force your hand. He's gonna show you so many times. He'll show you 1,000 times if he has to.
He gonna make it real clear. It's gonna, and out of that 1,000 times, he gonna make sure at least one of them is gonna be very, very clear. You're gonna finally make your choice. Like, okay.
And if you don't make the choice, he'll make it for you.
He gonna make it for you, bro.
Right?
I'd rather you make it than him make it for you. So
So in the end, we all living contently, or like it says, but godliness with contentment is great gain. Giving into the will of the Most High and being content with that is what's going to lead you to ultimate contentness. Because we all have plans. We all have, like it says in Proverbs, 16:9, 20:24.
Yeah.
We all have our own plans in our head, but it's the Most High that's going to direct our steps in the end.
At all times.
So if he has a path laid out for you, you could go off of that path or try to go off of that path as many times as you want to. But if your path is set out by him to do a certain thing or to be a certain way or to make it to the kingdom, you're going to make it. It's just going to take a lot longer, be a lot harder for you.
I'm glad you said that. I don't think I'm going off topic when I bring this up, but it's like a post I made probably earlier this past week where I don't think many people understood what I was saying when I posted it, right? But I basically said that the real sheep will never get plucked out of the truth because, like the brother said, it's a difference between being in the truth and knowing of it. You're never going to get plucked out of actually being in the truth, living it out, you know what I'm saying? No matter what snares might be in front of you, because like the scriptures say, right, in John chapter 10, verse 28 and 29, it says, no man is able to get plucked out of the hand of Yahushua or the Most High. You know what I'm saying? So even if something might happen along the way, if you're truly meant to be somewhere, like the brother said a long time ago in some videos that he made before I even met him, you know what I'm saying, where you can be predestined for something, and if it's meant for you to, you know what I'm saying, make it from the beginning, no matter how hard or, you know, how slow or fast you make the process along the way, you're going to get to where you got to go regardless. You know what I'm saying?
And vice versa. If you are made crooked, who can make straight what the Most High made crooked?
Nobody. It's over with, bro.
So you can try and try and try. There's some people that may, and I'm not trying to say I know who these people are or anything like that, because none of us know. We don't even know if we're gonna make it. We don't know if we are or aren't, right?
People scare me every day.
And that should be motivation to keep striving to progress in this truth and not get complacent, right? But there's people out there that may hear of the truth and they're like, you know what, that sounds like it is the truth. But no matter what they do, if they were a vessel made unto dishonor, then it doesn't matter how hard they try, because the Most High made them as a vessel unto dishonor.
Point blank.
Right? So this is 2 Timothy 2:20. It says, "But in a great house there are not only vessels of gold and of silver." Isn't Israel the Most High's jewelry?
Yep.
But also of wood and of earth, and some to honor and some to dishonor.
There you go. That's
right?
Exactly what I was thinking.
And there's a precept in Romans, the 9th chapter as well.
I was just going to go to it. Romans 9, I think it's in Job too, right?
I think it's like 9:18 or 19 around there.
Romans chapter 9, where he says he have mercy on whom he have mercy.
It's 21.
I'll say 9 and 18 says he have mercy on whom he have mercy. But Romans chapter 9, verse 21 says, "Have not the potter power over the clay, over of the same lump, to make one vessel unto honor and another unto dishonor?"
So the Most High is the potter, right? And he has power over the clay. He made some vessels to honor, some vessels to dishonor, right? So there's some people out there that no matter how hard they try, they're going to keep messing up and keep messing up. And eventually they're just going to fall off because that's what they were made unto dishonor.
Man, it's crazy. That's the scariest part.
That's like, that's a very scary thing.
That's scary shit.
That should humble all of us. And at the same time, the brothers saying, "Brothers, how do y'all humble yourselves? It's hard as hell for me. Yahweh Shem Yahushai, keep fixing me for being stiff-necked."
I'm so very grateful to hear that. I really am, because I can count more than 2 minutes now. You get what I'm saying? But honestly, bro, I'm gonna keep it a whole stack with you, bro. The brother probably gonna have a different answer than me, but I'll tell you from my own personal experience to answer your question. The way that you even become humble in the first place, because I'll be the first to admit I was the most prideful, arrogant person you probably would have ever met in your lifetime. I'm not even joking, bro. I come from not having shit, and I was chasing the so-called finer things of the world. You know what I'm saying? So it built me up and made me very prideful because of who I was around. The Most High literally broke me all the way down. Like how the scriptures say, there has been kings that sat on the ground, and there's been people that had never been thought of that wore the crown, right? I was the prince that got put on the ground. You know what I'm saying? This I felt like I was. He stripped everything from me. I lost my house, lost my businesses, went completely broke in the overdraft. I was down bad for 3 months straight, eating nothing but fucking flour and water, making unleavened cakes for 3 months straight. Not even making this shit up, bro. It's me being transparent with y'all. Broke me down to where I had nothing but the clothes on my back and the breath in my body. I ain't had jack shit, and I was dependent more than ever in my life. And to the Most High take you through some shit like that, that's very humbling, because it's different for everybody. But he got to actually take you through something to show you his power, and this is a small portion of his power, and show you that he really real. That's the only time you'll ever understand what it really means to be humble. Because the brother said a week ago or a few days ago, me and him was talking, we always think that we humble, but there's always another level you can go of being even more humble. Because the Most High can really take you all the way there. You know what I'm saying? That's why the scripture says, "Why is earth and ashes proud?" People going around here saying like, "Oh, I know my worth." Yeah, the Most High will show your ass what your worth is. You ain't worth shit. You know what I'm saying? So to answer your question, for me specifically, off my own experience, it's all about an experience the Most High give you. That's the only way you become humble. And as far as staying humble, Hebrews chapter 2, verse 1 says you be not forgetful about what you heard or what you seen. You know what I'm saying? Let's give the most earnest heed to it, lest you forget, unless you slip. You know what I'm saying?
And I got that verse just to go along with what he was saying. This is Sirach 10:9. "Why is earth and ashes proud? There is not a more wicked thing than a covetous man."
Yep, that was me.
"Than a covetous man. For such a one setteth his own soul to sale, because while he liveth, he casteth away his bowels." So it says earth and ashes represents us, right? We were made from the earth and we go back to the dust or to the ashes. It says, "Why are you proud? There is nothing more wicked than a covetous man." When you're living in a constant state of covetousness, you are always, always, always going to be striving for something else. You're never going to be content if you're being covetous, right? So being humble actually goes hand in hand with being content.
Absolutely.
Right? And for me, in order to stay humble, if you could get Mark 10:44, Baba Shah, and I'm going to get Proverbs 16:18. This is Proverbs 16:18. It says, "Pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. Right. So like the brother said, with him, it was more so money and like having businesses and things of that nature and people
All that,
looking up to
bro.
you.
Glory.
For,
Vainglory.
Vainglory, exactly what it is. For me, it was a little bit different. Right before I came into the truth, I was pretty much, or not pretty much, I was like the head coach at a gym for at an MMA gym because my coach got the opportunity to fight for this company called Combate Americas. He had to leave and train and all this stuff for months at a time. And long story short, mine wasn't so much the money thing; it was more like the power thing, right? Being in charge of like an MMA gym and also at the time being an MMA fighter, like everybody looks up to you. They see like they look at you with respect and all these things like that, and it goes to your head. You'll get prideful, especially not being in the truth. I can say 100%. Like
It's
it
hard,
was
bro.
totally prideful, totally prideful. But like it says here, pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. Long story short, not only did my coach, who was a very down here, probably one of the most well-known MMA fighters in South Texas, right? He was the only before Conor McGregor and all these other people were called double champs and they won belts in different weight classes. He was like the first person I've ever heard of that he won belts in two different weight classes. Long story short, not only did he end up losing in that organization, he ended up getting knocked out by a UFC dude, and he and me ended up losing the gym, right? And all of that came from him, but me as well, and other people involved being very prideful.
It happens.
So me, my answer to your question is this right here.
Mark chapter 10, verse 44. And whosoever of you will be the chiefest shall be servant of all.
So whoever's going to be the chiefest is going to be a servant to all, right? And this is something I was going to go over in the other live that I was talking about patriarchy and about roles. Every man wants to be the head of his household, even if they're not in the truth. I guarantee you, deep down inside, even if it's like the woman is running the house, the man still wants to have that power because it's in him, right? But nobody wants to be the servant to all. So you can't be the chief or the head if you're not serving all. And that's like I give props to my rib raising four children and now gonna have another one. And she cooks and cleans and does homeschool and makes sure that everybody's good and stuff like that. But at the same time, I know that me going and physically working and doing me putting a roof over their head, paying for their water, their food, their light, their clothes, all these other things, in a sense, I'm serving all of them.
Yeah, when you think about it.
I'm serving all of them. Then when we got and I come home and I'm tired, and then we're studying. I'm not gonna say we gotta study like it's a bad thing, but then we study for 20, 30 minutes, and then it turns into an hour, 2 hours.
It happens.
And then they're asking questions, and it's even longer.
And now we up all night.
Right? And now it's super late, and I gotta wake up in 5 hours, 4 hours sometimes. It's like that is me being a servant to all. But at the same time, it says, "Whosoever of you will be chiefest, or the head, is going to be servant to all." So for me, humbling yourself just means you're going to be serving everybody else. And me having a family, for me at least, that's an easy thing to do because over time it's just became a habit. And as you build habits, it almost becomes impossible to break them. It's like with Sabbath, it's like a completely natural thing now, right? It's like, oh, Sabbath is here, and I'm happy all the time.
I'd be excited, bro.
That it's Sabbath. I'm like, okay, a break, right? So for me, it's just the way to humble yourself is just be a servant to whoever you can. That's in this truth. And I believe the brother said, let me go back up on the comments real quick.
Too much scripture.
Oh yeah, we read that one.
Yeah.
Okay. 300 items, con. Coveting that much seems like something is missing internally. There's a void in the person's spiritual vessel that they're trying to fill. Con. And that's exactly what I was saying about whether it be like designer clothing, whether it be jewelry, whether it be money, whatever the case may be, there's all these things that you chase is not going to fill that void, right? whether it be clothing, whether it be a better position or more authority, or people seeing you in a certain way, that's not going to fulfill or fill the void that's actually missing. You have to get to the root of the problem when it comes to covetousness, right? Matthew Jason Khan, sometimes I want a rib, but it's not expedient for me. I just want more humility and meekness. Khan, and that's let me get First Corinthians chapter 6 real quick. Right? This is First Corinthians chapter 6 and verse 12. It says, all things are lawful unto me, but all things are not expedient. Expedient meaning profitable. All things are lawful for me, but I will not be brought under the power of any. So you may want a rib, and a lot of people that are, I say the majority of men that don't have a wife, don't have a rib, want one. But the
Scriptures do say you're gonna go up and down morning if you don't got one.
con, but here's the thing: just because you want something does not mean you're ready for it.
And it don't mean it's good for you.
Right? So by you saying you want more humility and meekness first, if you're saying that, that's the Most High putting it on your spirit.
It reminds me when I asked for the patience of Job. Be mindful of what you're asking
for. Before you pray, prepare yourself and be not as one that tempts the Most High.
Take good heed what thou speakest.
You have to be very careful for what you ask for, right? Because like you said, if you know you need more humility and meekness first, if you don't have meekness when dealing with a woman, of course there's times to be austere and times to be stern when it comes to the word, but you need a certain level of meekness in order for it to go smoothly, right?
Mm-hmm.
You want to read that out?
This one says, same here. I've come to a point where I need more knowledge and wisdom to teach a woman properly first, and not to mention need to build resources so I can take care of a woman someday. So I know that last part you mean physically, but it starts off where you said I need more knowledge and wisdom to teach a woman properly first. So I can tell you from my own personal experience, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm a newlywed, just putting it out there, you know what I'm saying? So all praise to the Most High for that. But I've been there. I was in the same position. I got out of a worldly relationship. The Most High actually snatched it from me, which I'm grateful for that, right? But he snatched it from me because I had just came into the truth. I didn't have no knowledge of the Bible. When he snatched it from me, that happened in February. It was like February or March 1st, something like that, right? From March all the way till now. It's been almost a whole year, right? I just recently got married, a week?
Kind of week ago.
A week ago, right? So it took almost a year, about 8 months, almost 9 months for me to build myself up in the scriptures. You feel what I'm saying? To actually be able to provide for a woman. But I tell you the truth, right? Me and her was courting and talking to each other for about 6 months. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna put it like this: you don't have to necessarily have read the whole entire Bible before you have something to actually provide. You know what I'm saying? As far as spirituality goes, knowledge and wisdom to give a woman. But you definitely have to take the initiative to open up the Bible and learn it for yourself first, not with the intention of giving it to a woman. You got to actually want to know it for yourself because, like the scriptures say, study to show yourself approved. You got to want to prove yourself acceptable in the eyes of the Most High. Like how brother brought up earlier, seek the kingdom first and then everything else going to come later on if it's meant to be. You know what I'm saying? So if you need knowledge, wisdom to give to a woman, so be it. Definitely, work the scriptures first. As far as building resources up, all I can say is follow the word, seek the kingdom, and the Most High going to line everything else. It's not, no physical words can explain how the Most High work. You know what I'm saying? All I'm going to say is just seek the scriptures first, get you a job, wax old in your work, like how it says in Sirach, and everything else, work out. Sirach 51 and 30, my favorite verse. Work your work be times, and in his time, not your time, but his time, you'll get a reward behind it.
Con. And that's very important. Work your work be times. You don't just pray for something and expect it to come to you. It's gonna pop up out of nowhere, right? And that's happened many times. That's one of the questions I'm gonna answer tomorrow, actually, as well.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody asked me about denying the power thereof.
Ooh, I know that's in Titus.
In I think it's Second Timothy.
Second Timothy.
So,
right.
They said,
Acknowledging.
can you give an example of denying the power thereof? So I got a few examples, but I'll give you one, right? Let's say you pray for something. Okay, let's say the brother prays, or you, right, you pray because you said need to build resources, right? So let's say you pray for a job so you can provide for yourself, and then in the most high's timing, provide for a woman for a rib. Let's say he gives you a job and then you're like, damn, that's only $10 an hour. That's not good enough. And you don't take it. You are
Man.
denying the power thereof.
Can I give him a real
Go
example of
ahead. Go
that? I'm
ahead.
so glad you brought that up. All praise to the Most High. Another transparent moment with y'all. I'm gonna tell y'all this. When I first came down here to the area the brothers in, you feel what I'm saying? My first job when I came down here, I came down here with $50 to my name. But like I said, I was prideful. The Most High stripped everything from me and humbled me like never before. Right? I come down here with $50 to my name. I get a job at Buffalo Wild Wings as a server. I told myself before I was never gonna work another fast food job again. He give me a job as a server, one of the most humbling jobs that you could ever have, right? And I think of the same verse in Proverbs where it says, before honor comes, right, it's humility. So you got to be humble before that comes. So I had to get a server job. They pay $2.13 an hour. So I'm living off of tips, literally. If my service ain't good, if I'm not humble, my money is not going to come in. You feel what I'm saying? So I started out with that. Like the brother said, you might think to yourself like, oh, it's $10 an hour. No, I ain't taking that. That's denying the power thereof. If I didn't take that job starting out, I wouldn't have the job that I have right now, which is at a call center. And my paychecks is no less than like $1,000. You know what I'm saying? Every time it come through, all praise to the Most High. You feel what I'm saying? And I ain't even got to put no physical labor in to deal with nobody face to face like how I did before. You know what I mean? I bring that up in the most humble state possible, but it's a perfect example of what he just brought up.
Con. And there's many other examples, but that's just one, right? So building up your resources, stuff like that. What I would say, like the brother said, is being in the scriptures, praying to the Most High, applying as much as you can, but also that's the spiritual. You also have the physical, and you got to put in work.
You got to be sincere too. I was going through some madness last week, and I watched y'all's video on terrible things and righteousness, and I saw y'all was talking about one of the curses being madness. All praise to the Most High, because that was a good lesson he did.
Con. And that goes along with what we were talking about earlier, how like the Most High. Another lesson, I have like a list of probably 5 to 7 lessons I want to do. One of them, someone had mentioned chastisement a little while ago, right? Chastisement, because if he makes something terrible in righteousness happen, then you know he's still dealing with you, right? And actually, my rib asked me something the other day that somebody brought up to her or said to her or asked her about. And let me just ask you, Ak, because you have no idea, and I'm going to ask you.
Right.
Is there, I'm going to say exactly how she asked, is there sin in righteousness? Sin. Is there sin in righteousness?
I'm going to take it as a serious question. Is there sin in righteousness? I will tell you no, simply because if you're first and foremost, if you're looking at what sin really means, bro, it just means transgression of the word. So it means you're going off. Righteousness means you following the word. So it's no sin.
It's contradictory.
The Bible don't contradict itself, so no.
It's contradictory. So terrible things in righteousness is actually kind of the opposite of that. That's like if, let's say, the brother is trying to, let's say he's trying to court somebody that's not good for him. And then the Most High shows him, and it sucks. It sucks when it happens, but in the end, you're like, damn.
You're so
like
grateful,
how they say hindsight's 20/20. When you're looking back, you got 20/20. You're like, man, that was bad at the moment, but I'm so thankful for it.
You just made me dodge a bullet,
right? So, like you said, the terrible things in righteousness. I'm glad. All praise to the Most High that you could see that, because one of them is madness. And when you look at that, it's like craziness. Not how crazy is it, or how mad do you have to be to like hear the word or read the word and you understand it as being true, but you still don't want to do it.
That's a good one. It's funny you said what you said about something about like how basically if terrible things and righteousness do happen to you, it means he's still dealing with you. I'm gonna do a lesson sometime soon about how you know if you're blessed or not. So,
That'd be a good one,
con.
right? Um, if you want to get Revelation 2, Becca said, "Get back to your first love in the beginning."
Wisdom.
Your first love is, and that's why I've made a few posts in the past that saying all men that have a wife, a physical wife, are actually polygamous by default.
Yep.
If you're in the truth, because your first wife is supposed to be wisdom, and if it's not, then your second wife, your physical wife, that marriage is not going to go well.
Ouch, man, you said it right there. All right.
If you want to start on verse 2.
This is Revelation chapter 2, verse 2. I know thy works, and thy labor, and thy patience, and how thou cannot bear them which are evil, and thou hast tried them which say they are apostles, and are not, and hast found them liars, and has borne and has patience, and for my name's sake has labored and has not fainted.
There's some people that are working and have labor and have patience in the things they're going through, etc. You've even seen other people that claim to be in the truth or teachers, and you found out they're liars. You have borne patience. You've labored for the name of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, and you've not fainted. You're still trying to endure in the truth. Go ahead.
And it says, nevertheless, I have somewhat against thee, because thou hast left thy first love.
So there's some people that even though they're doing good in the truth, they end up leaving their first love, which is wisdom. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Remember therefore from whence thou art fallen, and repent, and do the first works, or else I will come unto thee quickly, and will remove thy candlestick out of his place, except thou repent.
So you have to remember how you've fallen and repent and do the first works. The first works are repentance, because think about it this way. If the brother, or let's just say somebody in a worldly relationship, right? Let's say there's a man and a woman together, and the man is going out and just getting with women. And then he's like, you know what, I'm sorry, baby, please forgive me. But he keeps going out and getting with a whole bunch of different women. He keeps doing it and keeps doing it. Is she gonna forgive him? No, because he hasn't repented.
Yeah, you ain't sincere.
So the same thing with the Most High. The first thing you got to do before you even ask for forgiveness, you need to stop doing what you were doing.
Fix yourself.
That's like I'm smoking weed and I'm like, man, please forgive me, Yahweh, for smoking weed.
Please,
Right?
please forgive me. Please.
Puffing on it. And that's like in Sirach how it says, when you fast for your sins and go and do the same, who will hear your prayer?
Mm-mm.
If the Most High removes you from a certain situation, or from a certain sin, or from a certain environment, or from a certain person that makes you go off, and you keep going back to them, and then you're praying to get removed from it, who's going to hear your prayer?
Man, he ain't gonna. I promise he ain't gonna hear you.
He doesn't want to hear it, because you're doing the same. That's like if my son Noah, he writes on the wall, and then he's like, oh, I'm so sorry, blah, blah, spank him.
He's still circling like, I'm sorry,
Right.
Daddy.
And then the next day he goes back and does the same thing, and oh, I'm really sorry this time, and he does the same thing in the. You're not going to take that seriously.
Exactly.
But the point is, like the sister said, you want to read verse 4 one more time?
Verse 4. Nevertheless, I have somewhat against thee, because thou hast left thy first love.
So some people have left their first love. So what you got to do is remember how you've fallen, repent, or else he's going to remove your candlestick. In other words, he's going to put your light out.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to put your light out to where that's it. You don't have any more chance.
Yeah, you might not even know your light put out.
Exactly.
For many are deceived by their own vain opinion. So, people don't understand that.
Con.
For me, it is praying with sincerity. It's been hard. Ooh. I am planning on watching one of your old lives, Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai willing. For me, it is praying with sincerity. It's been hard. So I'm going to say my piece, and I'm going to let the brother say his piece on this one. Because you can't teach nobody how to be sincere.
Con.
But the way I think of it like this, I'm going to choose my words very carefully, because I don't know your situation, and I don't want to bear false witness. But my whole standpoint is you have to have some type of experience. Like the Most High has to give you some type of experience that will allow you to be sincere in your conversation with him. You know, there's a verse in Sirach. I forgot the chapter and verse off the top of my head, but paraphrasing, it says, "Be steadfast in thy covenant and be conversant therein," meaning to conversate with the Most High in that covenant that you have with Him, right? But when it said, you know, there's so many scriptures that tell you to prepare yourself and be not hasty when you talk to Him, because He's in heaven and we're on earth, right? If you're not sincere, He knows your heart already. You know what I'm saying? Because it says that He pondereth everybody's hearts. He weighs the spirits. He know if you're sincere or not. If praying in sincerity, and this is me being truthful, open rebuke better than secret love. If praying in sincerity is a problem for you, then that is something that, you know, you should pray to the Most High and ask Him, you know what I'm saying, to help you with that and to open your eyes with that. Because I know in Psalms 51, it was talking about how David said, "Create in me a clean heart." You know what I'm saying? Make me pure, right? Don't just pray for it and think, you know what I'm saying, it ain't going to be nothing. Like, because, you know, just be ready for Him to answer it and however He going to answer it. But sometimes you need that hard lesson. It's one point in time, I prayed for the patience of Job, but I didn't know what I was asking for. You know what I'm saying? I went through the roughest time period of my life, but sure enough, it was the most, how my bro just said, right? Hindsight 2020. I look back on it like, man, I'm glad I went through it, because I needed my patience to get built up. So in my personal opinion, you know what I'm saying, I can't teach you how to be sincere, but yeah, I wish I did say, you know what I'm saying, you know, you believe not because, you know what I'm saying, you're not of them. I'm not saying that's your case, but that's something to examine yourself about. You feel me? And pray to the Most High and ask Him for that.
And I agree with what he's saying, and I'll also add that I think being sincere isn't really as hard as some, like in a certain sense, it's not as hard as some people make it out to be. The thing is, with, I would say more so with like the Israelite community, so to speak, they make being sincere out to be something that in most cases it's really not. For example, you being sincere, let's say you're doing what you're expected to do or what you think people expect you to do, like you're praying to the Most High, let's say 3 times a day, or you're studying, or whatever the case may be, right? Whatever you think is what you're supposed to be doing. But to be sincere is just to be honest. So let's say you're struggling with something. Let's say you're struggling with, for like you said, being sincere. So then you got to be honest and be sincere with the Most High when you pray. And I'm really struggling with being sincere. I'm struggling with whatever the case may be, because the Most High already, like the brother said, and like the scriptures say, the Most High already knows your heart. So whatever you're struggling with, you can't hide it from the Most High anyway.
Yeah, it's easy, bro.
You got to be 100% honest with Him in your prayer, because you specifically said, you know, praying with sincerity. You could pray with sincerity and just be like, look, I hope, please Yahweh, hear my prayer, but I'm struggling with being sincere when I pray.
Help me be more sincere.
Can you please help me be more sincere? Because when I pray, sometimes I don't even mean the things I'm saying, and I know you know that I don't mean the things I'm saying, and I don't want to be like this. So that goes back to what the brother had mentioned. This is Psalm 51:10. Create in me a clean heart, O Yahweh, and renew a right spirit within me. You could literally pray this prayer from 10 down to, I think, let me see, about 17, 18, 19. Create in me a clean heart, O Yahweh, and renew a right spirit within me. If David was praying for the Most High to create a clean heart in him and to renew his spirit, then that's telling you right there that he didn't have a clean heart at that time. He didn't have a spirit that he wanted, because he wanted a new spirit in him. It says, cast me not away from thy presence, and take not thy Holy Spirit from me. That's something we should always pray for as well.
Every day.
To not be casted from His presence, to not have the Holy Spirit taken from you. Verse 12 says, restore unto me the joy of thy salvation, and uphold me with thy free spirit. So it says, restore unto me the joy of thy salvation. just having the opportunity to have a chance at the kingdom should give you some level of joy.
And it all comes from the fear of the Most High, bro. Like if
Con,
you having a problem with being sincere, and this is from brother to brother. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying this because I love you. I love you, and I ain't even met you. You know what I'm saying? If you don't fear the Most High, it's gonna be hard for you to be sincere. So something else you can pray for is asking the Most High to help you move in the fear of Him. I did that one time when I first came into the knowledge of the truth, and He did something that made my heart almost jump out my chest and almost gave me a heart attack.
con,
And in one of my dreams, literally.
con. And when you ask for that,
Be ready for it.
this is something I always say too. When I ask for something, or when I always ask like for if there's something I'm messing up or going off in, correct me. But but correct me in your kindness, in your meekness, in your mercy, and not in your anger, lest I come to nothing. Because you could ask for the fear of the Most High, and He might just man, he could
So
do
many ways.
anything to give you that fear. But if you ask for it in a humble way, and you ask for it in a way in his kindness, right, and in His mercy, because like it says in Lamentations, His mercies are new every day. If you ask for it in mercy, it's going to be a lot more likely for Him to give it to you in mercy if you're moving in the right type of spirit.
Yeah, all comes down to you every day.
Khan. Warrior's dream, exactly. I view teaching, leading, guiding, providing for the home as serving your family members. Khan. And that's what it is. Because, like, think about it. I mentioned that so many times. The day before Yahushua died, what did He do? He washed His disciples' feet.
He knew he was gonna die by him too.
Even Judas, and he knew. So he was a servant, and that just shows the chiefest of all is going to be the servant to all. His whole adult life, what was he doing? He was giving people the word, serving them, right?
Look, click on that one with the accent
Salakia.
about being new.
Damn, Ak, you are very new in this truth.
Just woken up in August.
I just can't.
I
All
am,
praises.
I
All
am, man.
praises.
It's a blessing, man. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's a blessing, but when I think about it, you know what I mean. I think it is one verse every single time. It's in Sirach chapter 33. It's verse 16. It says, "I awaked up last of all, as one that gathereth after the great gatherers. By the blessing of Yahweh I profited, and filled my wine press like a gatherer of grapes." So even though I might have woke up later than other people, I was still able to get just as much wisdom, knowledge, and understanding through the mercy and grace of the Most High, like anybody who's been here longer than me. And that's a blessing within itself, because I didn't expect that. Just being honest with you, that's something else that keeps me humble every day as well too. Is because I understand how much I've been through in that short period of time. Because the most I could take you on a ride real quick and show you a lot in a small period of time. You know what I mean? He can do it as fast as he wants, as long as he wants. You know what I mean? But ultimately, you know, he's the Most High, man. He can do whatever he wants. You know what I'm saying? That's what makes me fear him. I try to be as humble as I can every day. I do slip and fall every now and then, but who doesn't? You know what I'm saying? So praise Yah and congratulations on the marriage, a gift from the Most High. Man, all praises to the Most High, man. I was scared, I'm not gonna lie, at first. I told the brother this multiple times, but I prayed to the Most High. I told my real bitch too before she came down here. I said, look, before you came down here, I prayed I don't know how many times to the Most High that if you were a wicked woman, or if I was a wicked man and you trying to give me a Sirach 26, 23, I said, please just let me stay single. You know what I'm saying? Because I understood the severity of it, because I had just came from a relationship previously in the world where I was with a wicked woman. I understand Ecclesiastes 7 and 25 all the way through from physical experience. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to escape that unless the Most High wants you to. You know what I'm saying? So it's a blessing. All praises to the Most High Yahweh, the water for the gracefulness and the commitment, man. It's a blessing for real, man. I'm extremely happy. My soul is at peace. She's definitely a pillar of rest.
Khan, and this is Sirach 26:14. A silent and loving woman is a gift of Yahweh, and there is nothing so much worth as a mind well instructed.
Man, I just brought that verse up today too, through the Spirit, man. She literally made me think about something I posted today, about the post I made today. I thought of the one verse where it says, "Hast thou a wife after thy mind, forsake her not." So I was like, yeah, all praises.
So the right type of woman is definitely a gift from the Most High.
Con. I was watching one of your old videos on the Ten Commandments in a deeper lens, and now I'm realizing how hard it is following them daily. Absolutely. That's why Yahweh Shai came, because we can't understand, or we didn't know how to follow it perfectly. You know what I'm saying? I talked to her about this as well, too, earlier. And me and the brother talked about it many a times. What's the two greatest commandments? Love Yahweh with all thy heart and soul, and love your neighbor as you love yourself. If you think about both of those two categories that he placed it in, he just placed the whole 10 within two categories, 5 and 5. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
And this is First Peter 2:2. As newborn babes desire the sincere milk of the word, that ye may grow thereby. So, like the brother was saying about being sincere, it says, as newborn babes desire the sincere milk of the word, that ye may grow thereby. A lot of people come into the truth and they want to learn all these deep parables and dark sayings and things of that nature. But if you're not applying the things that are the milk of the word, which like the Ten Commandments, for example, then what is all this other stuff, all these like intricate and wisdom filled breakdowns and all these things, and talking about World War III and reincarnation and all these other things, they really aren't going to help you in your day-to-day walk. You have to have, and that's something else that I've told many brothers before. Ask your elder or ask the person you learn from what the Ten Commandments are.
Good
and
question.
and you're going to be very surprised at how many people can't name them in order. It's crazy because that's the milk of the word, but that'll tell you a whole lot, right? And especially when you look at it in a spiritual sense.
And I got a question for you. You let me know this before I try to read through the verse. Would you agree that having wisdom or obtaining wisdom through the Most High will allow you to be sincere? Yeah? Okay. So Sirach chapter 1 verse 26 is plain upon tables, one of my favorite verses. If thou desire wisdom, keep the commandments, and Yahweh shall give her unto thee.
Con. So to be sincere, it's like this. If you have a wife, right, and she says, "Yeah, I'm willing to be submissive, and I'm willing to do what you say as long as it lines up with the word." If she's sincere, she's gonna do it. If she's not sincere, she's not gonna do it. So being sincere really just means to be applying what you say you believe in. That's sincerity in a sense, like to just wrap it all up.
It's not that I'm not sincere, but one day I prayed and messed up. And ever since that, it has been worse. And now I focus on saying the prayer perfectly over being more sincere.
So I would definitely say when you're praying, it's like when we're talking, right? Am I not messing up on some of my words?
Yeah,
right? We all end up in some way or another messing up in a sense. So what I would say for you to do is like it says in Sirach 18 and something, it says before you pray, prepare yourself.
Yeah,
right?
prepare thyself and be not as one to tempt the Most High.
So before you pray, prepare yourself what you're going to pray for. Right? And that's going to show your sincerity in trying to pray.
And then he says, I read over my prayers that I write down and go over them, and it feels like I am rehearsing a play. I am honest, but my prayers don't feel as emotional as they used to be.
Well, I mean, to be honest, like it's good to, let's put it this way, right? There's a time and a place for everything. So there's a time and a place where you need to prepare yourself before you pray, maybe even write it down. Like I have some Hebrew prayers written down that I'll read every once in a while. But also, it's like if me and this brother were having a conversation, I'm not going to write out everything that I'm going to say to him, right? So in order to have a real like connection with the Most High, right? Because that's why a lot of times I don't say Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai. I'll say Abba because it's a more personal relationship when you're calling him Father.
Sometimes I say Abba Yahweh.
Right? Or Abba Nawa when we're praying together. That's our Father. Yep. So it's just like your dad, right? Like I wasn't raised around my dad, but I still don't call him Ismael, which is his name, Ishmael in Spanish. Right? I don't call him that. I still call him dad because we have a more personal relationship than just the name. Now, To go along with that, like when you're talking to somebody, you don't really, in a sense, you may plan out what you're going to say, but you don't write it out word for word. You know what I'm saying? So when it comes to that, I would say prepare yourself in the sense of what you're basically going to say, like kind of like footnotes in a sense. I want to ask for this. I'm struggling with that. But you don't have to write it out word for word and read it perfectly.
And then I got a verse for you too, brother. Sometimes we got to keep this in mind too. Our spirit sometimes helps us as well. Sometimes we don't know what we be supposed to say. Romans 8:26 says, "Likewise, the Spirit also helpeth our infirmities, for we know not what we should pray for as we ought, but the Spirit itself maketh intercession for us with groanings which cannot be uttered." And it means it can't be uttered with physical words. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes you might not know the right words to say. And sometimes while you might be speaking to the Most High with your own words, your spirit praying for you the whole time while you talking. So it happens. It happens. I mean, you just gotta pray to the Most High, man. Honestly, that's the biggest thing. Like whether you write it down or not, I think one of the most important prayers you should ask Him is to create that clean heart in you, help you be more sincere, and to help you and Him build a more established relationship. You know what I'm saying? Because that's the only way things are gonna get more intense and sincere, so to speak.
Khan, and this is Sirach 37:15. I would say definitely write it down and you can look at it later. Um, Sirach or Ecclesiasticus 37:15. It says, "And above all this, pray to the Most High that He will direct thy way in truth." So above all things, we should be asking the Most High to direct your way or your path in truth, right? Because like the brother mentioned earlier, there's a way that seems right in our own eyes, but in the end, it's going to lead to destruction.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you're praying like, "Oh, the water for putting me on this path," and you feel like you're doing better, and maybe you are doing better, but that doesn't mean you're doing perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
There could be, and like I said many times before, there could be things that you learned that was 90, 95, 98, 99% truth, but there's still some things that you learned or you hold on to that aren't the truth, right? So praying that He will direct you in truth and that He will correct you. And now we can get that Proverbs 30:8, right? And asking for Him to give you food that is convenient, right? And we know spiritual food too, like the bread of life and the waters. That goes right along with what Warrior's Dream said. Yes, those deep dives are a distraction from those who haven't built the foundational understanding. If you don't have a good grasp, not only a good grasp and understanding on the foundational things, then all those other things that are not salvation issues are only going to distract you from what you actually need to correct in your walk.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like there was when I maybe 3-4 years ago, there was a certain camp that they're very good with prophecies.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I won't even say I know you know who I'm talking about.
Off the rip.
There's a camp that's very good with prophecies, and at that point in time, I was like, damn, yeah, that prophecy. Okay, that means this. And when it says these people, the modern day, those people is this country because they moved from here to there, and they're super good with the prophecies, right? But it was distracting me from things that were salvation issues that I had to correct in my own walk.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you have to pray above all things to the Most High that He's going to direct you in truth and put you on the path that you need to be on to get yourself in order according to the scriptures. Not so you can know all the breakdowns, because breakdowns aren't going to get nobody into the kingdom.
Hell no.
If you don't have the works in the sense of, okay, my faith is built up and I'm also striving to keep the commandments. Right? Church of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai Barakatah. Oh, Barza Yah Judah, Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai Barakatah.
Barakatah, man.
You want to read that?
1 Corinthians 10:23. All things are lawful for me, but all things are not expedient. All things are lawful for me, but all things edify not.
Khan. So there are some things that you may let's put it this way. you may be getting some type of edification in your mind, right? Going back to the whole MMA example, right? If I showed this brother how to do a flying triangle and he's like, oh, damn, he's edifying me. I can do a flying triangle, but I haven't even showed him how to do a regular one, it's not going to help him. All these fancy, I'm going to show him a spinning back fist, but he doesn't know how to throw a jab.
Can't even do the basics. I'm going to fall.
Right? It's not going to help you with anything. So we have to learn, just because something is lawful, like, okay, reincarnation, which maybe some people still don't even believe in because they haven't really looked into it, is knowing reincarnation is a thing according to the Bible going to get you into the kingdom. It's not, right? So imagine, oh yeah, well, I broke down 5 videos on reincarnation, but okay, but you weren't honoring your mother and father.
Exactly. Like,
but you were in a covetous spirit your whole life.
Yep.
Right? Since we're going over that. Oh, but you didn't learn how to be content with that which you have.
You didn't know how to be set apart.
Right? You didn't know how to be set apart. You were always around wicked, and that caused you to fall. Mm-hmm. And that caused you to have evil spirits on you. Mm-hmm. But you know about reincarnation, or you know about how to carry yourself as a man or as a woman. Mm-hmm. But you still don't follow the laws of being set apart. Right? Go ahead.
Con, this is Proverbs chapter 30, verse 8. Remove far from me vanity and lies. Give me neither poverty nor riches. Feed me with food convenient for me.
So that's something else that we have to pray to the Most High. And if you read before verse 7, it says, 2 things have I required of thee. Deny me them not before I die. So he was asking for these 2 things, right? And the first one is, remove far from me vanity and lies.
I pray for this every day.
So that goes right along with Sirach 37 and 15, where it says, direct my way in truth. For him to direct you in truth, he's going to have to remove some lies.
Gotcha.
And going back to what the brother asked earlier about how to be humble, that's going to humble you, and it's going to show your humility when you're like, okay, remove far from me vanity and lies. And then you remember some things, or the Most High puts it on your spirit to remember something you've learned from somebody, or from a camp or congregation or brother or whatever, and it was actually a lie. It wasn't true. So now you have the opportunity to be humble, and remember it says, the greater thou art, the more humble thyself. You have an opportunity to be more great by just humbling yourself. And I could say the example for me was, for the first maybe 3 years, I didn't believe in water baptism. Right? And then there was some brothers, Church of Yahweh Shem Yahushua mainly, but there was a couple other brothers as well that, asked me about it. And I was like, well, it's of the word only. And and I was kind of in that spirit of like, I didn't believe it. But then the Most High put the spirit on me to just be like, well, if my son did it, you know what I mean? And from there I was like, well, that means I got to look into it more.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So when it comes to removing vanity and lies, you can asking for something, and then actually doing it when you have the opportunity is 2 totally different things.
And I definitely would say, for me, to basically put in real terms of that scripture the brother brought out, the more humble thyself, the greater thou art. Just being completely honest, when I went through the lowest moment of my life that the Most High put me through, when the Most High delivered me from it, one thing that I promised to do was to be a faithful servant to him, and I basically became a servant. Just being completely honest, I basically became a servant, like as in the days of old were. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was fortunate enough that the brother I was a servant to wasn't somebody that oppresses people and stuff like that. But no matter what people want to call it, that's technically what I was, though. You know what I'm saying? But I was perfectly fine with it because I already knew what came with it. You know what I'm saying? And then sure enough, the Most High lifted me up over a period of time, less than a year. You know what I'm saying? It took a little bit, and it took a lot of sweat, labor, and all that, but the Most High lifted me up.
Most definitely. And like the brother said, so the brother Barzia Judah said, literally happened to me. Matthew, Jason, I was in GMS learning fake doctrine, and I saw that one scripture in Sirach 37 and 2 days ago. I found out about baptism from Church of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. 2 days after.
Yes, sir.
All praise to the Most High. All praise to the Most High. And the brother, I believe, this is Azariah, right?
Cut me
I
too.
believe said that baptism cut me to pieces when I found out about it. Khan, same here,
Cut me too, man.
same here. And you know what? Like the brother said, especially for some reason, I mean, there's other doctrines that brothers have come at me like, head, like you can tell when it's like spirits because they'll come at you like with so much contention and anger and things like that. One of them was when I made a few videos about like you can't be sleeping with prostitutes because me too, just like the brother, it was Matthew, right? The brother Matthew Jason, he said that he was learning from GMS. When I was learning from GMS too, when I first came into this thing, and it was GMS and Priest Zabak mainly, House of Israel, right? But GMS, once they started saying there was two things they were teaching that I was just it didn't sit right with my spirit. One of them was the whole you can get with prostitutes doctrine because Judah was up with the prostitute, so we could get with the prostitute and all these other things,
Thought
right?
it was okay.
But when you're a part of the body of Yahushai, it clearly says you cannot be joined unto a harlot.
Yep.
You become one flesh, right? And that's just one of the many precepts. The other one was when you had what was his name? I can't even remember the elder's name.
I don't know the dude name. I know you talking about
I
it.
think it's Tahar. When
Yeah.
he was saying, yeah, we're going to be getting them young in the kingdom, 11, 12 years old, as soon as they
Damn,
have their
bro.
period. I got 3 daughters, bro.
Yeah, it's
That's
fucked up, bro.
that's not that didn't sit. I was like, all right, that's it, bro. I gotta and you already know things are gonna come with that. You know there's gonna be contention, there's gonna be anger, there's gonna be all types of spirits coming at you. That you have even with, and I'll even say it, even with Sakari, there was certain things that they were teaching. And I was cool with a lot of the brothers from there. I would even talk to them and things of that nature, even some of the head dudes. And when I pointed out certain things, especially baptism, it was like total flip to where they were like, "You're my enemy," and no more brotherly love. And you're one of the one of the brothers uh said your music is trash. I was like, you know what I'm talking about? Did I show you that? Okay. The brother was like, your music is trash. I'll debate you anytime. And then he blocked me before I could even
Man,
respond
was
to
so
him.
sick, bro.
Right? But the point is, when you find out about these doctrines, and it's like the brother y'all had told me before, um, when it comes to baptism, it cut me to pieces too because I was even saying things like, "No, man, you're washed by the water of the word," and then some brothers pointed out to me, "Well, washed and baptized isn't the same word though.
It's not.
Not in English, it's not. In Greek, it's not. It's not the same word."
And physicality is not, bro. What happens if you take a bath versus you shower and wash yourself? Like,
So there's a huge difference, right? But the point is, like the brother has said before, witches, you know how they say you pour water on a witch and
they
they'll
get the
melt,
melting, boy.
right? That's how it was spiritually in my eyes when you talk about physical water baptism, following um, the ways and the path of Yahushua. Because if he did it, we're supposed to do it. He left an example for us to walk in his footsteps, right? Okay, Salakia, the brother Daniel Allah. Khan. Yahweh Hashem Yahushua Barakatah. Matthew Jason, after I got baptized, life has been hell for me. These fiery trials have been crazy.
Happened to me before.
Khan. So it's like I tell everybody, when you try to take a step closer to the Most High, you want to get it in Sirach too?
Yeah.
I'm sure everybody's familiar with it. When you take a step closer to the Most High, the enemies, all these evil spirits do not like you.
So don't.
Right? It's their job to try to get you to go off. Okay?
Sirach chapter 2, verse 1. My son, if thou come to serve the Lord, prepare thy soul for temptation.
So, temptation, and then it says you got trials, you got all these other things that are going to come with it.
Constantly endure, make not haste in time of trouble, cleave unto him, depart not away, so you'll be increased in your last end. Whatever happens to you, take it cheerfully, so forth and so forth. And my favorite one is Sirach chapter 2, verse 5. For gold is tried in the fire, and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity.
So gold is tried in the fire, just like you have gold. If you take a whole brick of gold to somebody, that's worth thousands and thousands of dollars. They're not going to take your word for it. They're going to melt it down. And anything that is not real, say you got some aluminum or some lead in there, it's going to melt away and they're going to have a smaller amount of gold. They're going to they're gonna figure out or prove what type of or what amount of gold it is. The same thing happens to men.
My piece of advice to you is verse 12. Woe be to fearful hearts and faint hands, and the sinner that goeth two ways. Don't have a doubtful mind. Don't be slothful or idle, whether it be working the scriptures or doing what you are already doing as far as working the physical job and everything. But most importantly, don't come to the Most High with a double mind.
Con.
If you do that, it's over with.
Con. So let's put it this way. It says when you come to serve Yahweh, there's going to be trials and tribulations, and you're going to be tried, right? So when you get baptized, if you were going off by getting baptized, don't you think that's not serving him? So the trials wouldn't continue to come. You get what I'm saying?
I can't find the verse right now, but go ahead.
If you're being tried, it's because you are sincerely trying to serve the Most High. So by getting baptized and there's more trials, that just shows that.
This is the verse I was gonna bring out. I can't find it, but it was a verse I was gonna bring out for the lesson I'm gonna do about how you know if you blessed or not. To answer, to kind of give you a little bit of comfort, brother. Yahweh Shai told Peter, you know what I'm saying? I think it was Peter. Peter, you're blessed, right? For Satan desired to have you. He wants to sift you like wheat.
Come.
You know what I'm saying? If he desires to have you, it's because you're trying your best to do something good. What happened the other night when the night of the ceremony and the gun went off and it was just crazy out of nowhere. But you said something that was very, very profound. Right when you are about to do something that the devil don't like or something that is really, really good or profound, right? Mm-hmm. That's when the devil tries his hardest to go against you.
Satan cometh immediately.
Satan cometh immediately with all forms of deceivableness. You can't take lightly what that means when it says all forms of deceivableness. Deception is very tricky.
Most definitely. Whenever you're doing something for the Most High, to sum it up, whenever you're doing something for the Most High, then guess what? He is going to show you how his word is true. Because if you have faith in the Most High, like real faith in the Most High, he's going to show you his word is true, at least from my experience. So when you're trying to serve him and then you get tempted more, he's showing you his word is true because he said that that's going to happen.
It's coming.
Right?
Prayed for discernment, much like Solomon, to remove the vanity and lies, and that truth hella cut me. I feel that. I feel you on that, bro.
Same here. I
feel you on that one. Doctrines are running. You done said something right there. I felt that one. Doctrines are running rampant in our nation right now. Oh my gosh. I'm just so glad that me and the brother ain't the only two that been seeing this.
Well, the end shall not come
until they're falling away.
Until there's a great falling away, right? And some people think or say it's a falling away from the Christian church and all these things. That's not what it is.
They shall not endure sound doctrine.
Let me go back up, Salakia.
Shaking my head, that's bad fruit. Those brothers came at you with very revealing.
And that's the thing. The Most High, when you serve him more and more, he's going to reveal things to you, just like the brother Barzayah just said as well.
Jomar in the building.
Yahweh Hashem, Yahweh Shai Barakatah, Jomar.
Baptism is so clear, especially if you read about the eunuch. I'm so glad he said that, bro, because I know I don't be tripping when I be saying that, bro. You would think something so simple to understand if you just take it to face value. You know what I'm saying? But what is it? What was it? 2 Corinthians 11:3 or 1 Corinthians 11:3? 2 Corinthians 11:3, where it tells you, let me go to it. I'm going to let Yahweh be true. Was it 2 Corinthians? Or?
What are you looking for? About the eunuch?
No, the simplicity of Christ.
Oh, don't be deceived or put away from the
11:3, right?
Of Christ.
Yep, here you go. 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 3. But I fear lest by any means, as the serpent beguiled Eve through his subtlety, meaning his craftiness and deception, so your minds should be corrupted from the simplicity that is in Hamashiach. Baptism is very simple. However, people try to over spiritualize it, which until the end of time, I'm never gonna understand that. I'm gonna be real.
And it's cool though because I can personally see it from both perspectives, because it's like the scriptures say, cursed is he who makes man his arm or his strength.
I just read that yesterday. Yeah.
Right? So when you trust in what somebody tells you, like I did when I was first coming into the faith, you hear something and you believe it, you're putting your power, you're making man your power instead of the Most High. Because this is First Peter 2:21. For even hereunto were ye called, because Hamashiach, or Christ, also suffered for us, leaving us an example that ye should follow his steps. When you read that and you just hear, okay, we should follow in his footsteps. If he did something, then we should strive to do the exact same thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you and the eunuch, actually, that's funny because that's in Acts, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in Matthew, the last chapter, right? The last chapter, chapter 28, verse 19, which is the second to last verse, it says, "Go ye therefore and teach all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Ghost." So there's some people that'll say, well, once Yahweh died, that was it with the baptism.
Yeah, it went away.
So why then did he say that you're supposed to go and baptize as the last thing he said in Matthew?
And if you piece it in together with how he started off Matthew, what was the first example that he ever left before he ever preached anything to anybody? He got baptized by the so-called greatest prophet to ever walk. So come on.
As an example.
Facts, Jomar. I have been studying the message of baptism that you and the brother Kanad taught months ago. I was blessed by you brothers' good, solid, clear teaching. He was blessed by the Most High, but I get what you're saying.
All praise to the Most High.
That's a blessing. When I got into the etymology of acceptable in verse 5, and it meant pleasing, welcomed. Felt that. My walk increased in difficulty after my baptism, but remember James 1, 2, 3. Absolutely. The water shone the water. And verse 5 says, acceptable men in the furnace of adversity. Absolutely. So you even got to be considered acceptable to be going through trials. Man, Barzayah Judah, bro, you done said something right there, dog. I hope somebody go through this comment section and screenshot that one. That right there, I think you just woke somebody up with that.
And I don't think you were on here maybe earlier when we said, most high willing, either the next lesson or the one after that is going to be on chastisement. And a lot of times when we go through adversity and chastisement can go hand in hand. But like you said, you have to be considered acceptable to be going through trials, right? And just like the Most High has to be dealing with you for him to even chastise you. Because it's like if I had my children at the park and I see some other kid being bad and he's doing whatever, or cussing, or you know how they say shitting the stick. If I don't know him and I don't care about him, I'm not going to try to correct him in the first place. And that's mainly what it's going to go over in Hebrews 12, how it says he's going to chastise you, and if you receive it, he deals with you as sons.
Absolutely, and that should give you some type of comfort, to be real with you.
Calm, most definitely. Hebrews 12.
Absolutely. How do you know if your candlestick is out? Now that one right there, I'm gonna let the brother talk about that one. That's a good question, because sometimes you ain't gonna know. So
exactly. So I've heard of people, a brother, say that like he thought or assumed his candle was out because he just didn't. He had no zeal. He had no kana, or some people say kanawat, no zeal to do anything, to pray, to study, to nothing like that. And to be honest, I don't know. I haven't talked to him in a long while. But last thing I knew or heard of him, like he wasn't trying to keep the commandments or anything like that anymore. So sometimes maybe the Most High will put the Spirit on you to know that, but a lot of times, I mean, you may not even know.
Yeah.
You may not even, and that's the scariest part. Like, what if you're trying to follow the commandments, okay, but your spirit ain't right? Right? Like your spirit is off the whole time. You're not moving in the right spirit the whole time. And you think, just like the Pharisees thought, by keeping the commandments, you're doing good. right? But in reality, it's the inner man or it's the inner garment. But you got on these huge fringes and all these things that
Mm-hmm.
aren't as important, right? And I could say that because we know there's a sin that's unto death. Some
Mm-hmm.
people are like in Christianity. I don't know if y'all have ever heard this, but in Christianity, they said all sin is sin. You murder somebody and you steal a piece of candy, it's the same thing. No, it's not the same thing.
Some of them are weightier than the other.
Con,
It's
there's
weightier matters of the law.
exactly there's weightier man. You were put to death for committing adultery, the man and the woman, right? If you touched a carcass, for example, you were only unclean until evening, right? So there are weightier matters of the law, like the scriptures say. So you could not even know sometimes,
That's really is scary though, bro. Because
right?
I can't even give you a straight answer on that, bro, for real. Because
Con,
I don't want to be in that position, so I don't know.
exactly. And I would just say that's why praying for discernment at all times is very important. But look at it this way: if your light's put out, is the Most High going to give you discernment, right?
Facts, bugged out doctrines. I'm glad that there's a separation that's happening where the wicked are going their way while we are trying to serve Abba in truth. John 4:23 through 24. I feel
Con,
you on that, bro. I think of Luke 12 and 2 every time. Ain't nothing hidden that ain't gonna come out. And I think
con.
about that one verse where it talks about how in vain they do worship me, teaching four doctrines, the commandments of men.
I
So
think of my brother Jomar, Daniel 12:10. What you gotta understand, right?
straight like that.
This is I'm gonna get it real quick. This is Daniel 12:10. It says, "Many shall be purified and made white and tried." So you gotta understand when you're being purified and you're being made white, the only way to do that is to be tried, right? But the wicked shall do wickedly, and none of the wicked shall understand, but the wise shall understand. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So the wicked can't understand because they're wicked. Just like we read earlier, that there's a vessel made unto honor and one made unto dishonor. The one made unto dishonor is wicked, so they can't understand. No matter how many, you could break it down perfectly with 50 different precepts, whatever the topic may be,
Yep.
and they'll still look at you like you're crazy,
Yep.
right? So it's all a matter of the Most High revealing it to you, and in reality, whether or not you're just called or chosen.
Proverbs 20 and 12, man, the hearing, ear, and the seeing eye.
Yep, they both come from the Most High, right?
The
Brother said,
con.
"Khan."
Y'all funny.
The brother Allen,
Perspective is key. I felt you on that, bro.
Khan. Perspective is key.
The point about being considered acceptable is so vital. Absolutely. That's great perspective to have in this treacherous spiritual war. Absolutely.
Khan,
And the fact that it's a spiritual warfare, there's many battles within a war. You might lose a battle one day. It took me a while to understand this. Sometimes the devil do win, believe it or not, for a day. You know what I'm saying? He might have got one up on you for the day, so he can go and accuse you to the Most High. You know what I'm saying? But the key is to win the war. Focus on the end goal.
Khan. So this is Sirach 15 and 15. It says, "If thou wilt to keep the commandments and to perform acceptable faithfulness."
Acceptable.
So acceptable faithfulness. But notice it doesn't say to have acceptable faithfulness. It says to perform acceptable faithfulness. Performing is an action, performing is a verb. So faith without works is dead, right? This tells us that faith, acceptable faith, is something you have to do. It means you move in faith. So I'll give you an example. Since we were talking about baptism, right? If you believe in baptism, you have faith in baptism. Mentally, you believe it's real, right? You still have to perform that faith in doing the physical act, right? So it says, Sirach 15:15, if thou wilt to keep the commandments and to perform acceptable faithfulness. But your faith has to be shown through your works, right? And that, like the brother said, to have that perspective is something that's definitely necessary, right? One more question, Knock. What is y'all's email? I've been seeking counsel. Mine is kingdoms.path.144 at gmail.
Mine is Ayal, Ayal dot 144K at Gmail. So feel free to reach out, bro. I mean,
Con, if you want
yeah,
to be honest with you, you can reach out to me, but it might take a few days to get back.
yeah.
I get a lot of questions and stuff. If you want to hit up the brother and me, or the brother or me,
Whoever, bro.
whenever I can get back to you, I would, or the brother will get back to you.
Either or, man. Then that have an ear. Oh, I know what he mean.
Yeah, then
Have them that have an ear, let them hear.
con,
Absolutely.
con.
Mighty precept. Yep.
Yep. So you have to perform that. If you want to go back to Proverbs 30:8 real quick.
Mm-hmm.
The brother Danya Allah said, Khan, Satan doesn't want you to honor Yahweh even by repenting for something we went off on. Khan. And like that's a blessing in itself when you look at it. You always have like having an opportunity to repent of something, like the Most High giving you the knowledge of it, that's a blessing in itself. So what you do with it is actually up to you. At that point in time, it's like the Most High is like, okay, the ball's in your court. If He allows you to understand, like, okay, I believe this, and now I know it's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So, like the brother said, Satan doesn't want you to honor the Most High and be like, okay, you know what? I did go off on that, and now I gotta become greater. The greater thou art, the more humble thyself. I'm gonna humble myself. I'm gonna admit I was wrong. People might even call me crazy because they were the ones who taught me.
Yep.
Right? But you know what? I don't care. I'm gonna honor the Most High over men. I'm gonna please the Most High over men.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Let me read this real quick and then we'll finish with that.
Okay.
Revelation 16:9. And men were scorched with great heat and blasphemed the name of Yahweh, which hath power over these plagues, and they repented not to give him glory.
Mm-hmm.
Khan. So imagine this. Like, look, you can look at it either way. You tell me which one makes more sense. You go through the fire of adversity, right? You start going through different things. You're spiritually, mentally, sometimes even physically. Like I know a brother reached out to me not too long ago, said, I broke Sabbath, I had sex with my wife, and then I worked on Sabbath. And guess what happened? He went to work on Sabbath and he broke his leg at work.
Know what that mean, buddy?
Right? So now he was scorched with great heat, but you have the opportunity now. Are you gonna repent or not? So you went all through all that just so you could not repent.
Like, come on, dog.
Like you might as well make
Don't make
it
worse on
worthwhile.
yourself. Yeah,
Right?
don't make it worse on yourself.
Make it worthwhile and be like, okay, you know what? I went through this. I'm gonna actually learn my lesson, and I'm not gonna be hard headed, and I'm gonna turn back to the Most High, and I'm gonna repent and give Him glory, like the brother Daniel said. Right?
That one, man.
Con.
Right. Simone.
Go ahead, Ali.
Proverbs chapter 30, verse 8. Remove far from me vanity and lies. Give me neither poverty nor riches. Feed me with food convenient for me, lest I be full and deny thee and say, who is Yahweh? Or lest I be poor and steal and take the name of my God in vain.
So I think we've all been in the position, or maybe not all of us, but the majority of us, where we would steal. Right? Or
I
we
used
were
to be a thief, bro.
I
probably wasn't commercial like you, big dog, but sheesh, I was bad.
Con. But you just have, and that's why I know it's a spirit, because I remember there was this dude. It was actually my old. It's called a cuñado, like a brother-in-law, right? My old. I would call him brother-in-law, even though I wasn't married to my first. I wasn't married by the Babylonian term to my first two children's mama, right? But me and him would go to the store, and every time we would go to the store, to Walmart, he would have to steal something, bro. That brother said commercial. Con. Commercial. That was literally how I would make money. But anyways, we would go to Walmart or something, and I remember like that was when we would smoke and stuff like that. Say we would get all high, we go to Walmart and say I would have to buy something or I buy food, and he would go to the toy section.
Oh my god.
And he would just jack something, right? Now I would remember asking him like, bro, why would you get that? He's like, I don't know, I just got that itch.
Like what?
Because
Can't
it's
stop.
right. It's like a spirit on you to where you just gotta. I just gotta break the commandment.
I gotta do something.
I just gotta do it. So we've been in the position to an extent where we got to steal, and sometimes it's not even because you're poor.
Yeah.
Right. And then on the opposite side, on the other side of the spectrum, so to speak, where you got so much money that you don't even care about spiritual things.
Man, I've been there.
You don't even care about wisdom. And you know what? Maybe I haven't been there where I got all this money, but just as far as like having respect of men,
Yeah.
right? Like I told you when I was basically running the MMA gym and there's people looking up to you and like, oh man, yeah, like he's the coach and he's this and that. Like to me, that was like money. Right?
I feel that shit. For me, it was it's so
It was
funny.
actual.
It was actual, bro. I shit you not, bro. I wasted $50,000, bro, at the age of 19. At 19 years old, bro, I ain't never touched that much money in my life. And collectively, within like 1 year, bro, I spent like over 50,000, almost 100, bro. I didn't even know that shit. You know what I'm saying? But it's
you don't until
you don't realize it. But it's like, the business that I had and stuff like that, bro. You know what I'm saying? I was blowing on dumb shit and I was being prideful. You know what I'm saying? So the Most High took all that shit from me, made me realize where I went wrong, and then sure enough, you feel me? Like you said, we all been on both sides of the spectrum. I started at the bottom where you were stealing, then I got to the full part, and then now I'm like, you know what? Just keep me in the middle because I don't want to go through that no more.
And I never was to the point where I was like, man, I got so much money, blah, blah, blah. But there was also a point where I was selling weed, I was stealing, people look up to you as like, oh, he's the dude to go to for whatever, right? And at that point, you also fall into that spirit of like, I'm full. I got everything I need.
Yep.
I got a pound of weed on me all the time or a couple pounds of weed on me. I got people coming all the time. They're going to come. Hey, I brought you food. You smoke me out or what?
I smoke you out.
I got. Oh, you want to take a cruise? You want to go to this party? Because everybody wants to be your friend when you got something they can benefit off of.
Absolutely. Right? For the belly.
Yeah, a friend for the belly, a friend for their own benefit, right? But then when you're in that position to where you feel full of whatever the spirit's on you want, right? Then there comes a point in time where you realize, Most High willing, you realize that it's like, damn, I still don't feel fulfilled.
Oh, bro, that shit don't do nothing for you, bro.
Like I'm full of weed or whatever, money, women, drugs, whatever the case may be, but I still feel empty. There's still something missing. At least for those who are called by the Most High, right?
That's the icing on the cake right there.
And that's gonna go into the next lesson about patriarchy, right? Because I was talking to a sister or a female, and this goes for everybody. If you don't have a relationship with your father, there's always a part missing of your life, right? You always have it like there's something missing. There's something from when you're a child all the way up.
It's like half of you is gone,
right? If you don't have a relationship with your father, so how much more with our Creator, who's our Father, the Heavenly Father, right? Brother said, sheesh. Yeah, it goes quick.
That motherfucker burned holy.
It goes quick. I remember one time I got a pound and it was gone in like 2 days, and I was supposed to be selling it, right?
Smoke shit out of it.
It was like smoking, and then it was like, oh, let's go chill with these people, and we smoke a whole bunch, and then you want, yeah, let me front you just a little, and it's gone.
It's gone, just like it.
And same thing with money.
Smoke like a fucking chimney.
Don't bless Enoch. Israel needs to hear this. Khan, all praise to the Most High.
Whoever got an ear and whoever is meant to hear it, they gonna hear it. Everybody wants to be a friend when they can benefit off of you.
You know what? Now that you said that, that reminds me of a certain, and I won't even say who it was on this one. When me and a certain brother that's no longer in the truth, and we're going out and teaching and stuff like that consistently, and somebody from a very well-known camp was like, hey, that's dope. That's a dope location, and I like that. Send me a couple videos, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, he was like, maybe you could be a part of our, you could be an affiliate, right? And I was like, you know what? That's cool. I had seen a few videos of their camp and all that. And for the most part, I was like in agreement with their doctrine. This was before I learned about baptism and about a lot of other things that I disagree with them now, right? But I was like, all right, cool. So then it was like, all right, you only got to pay this much a month.
Nigga, what?
And I was like, wait,
Wait a
hold
minute,
up.
what?
So I have to pay you in order for us to go out and preach the word and just to use your name on our YouTube page.
Like, nah.
I was like, that's crazy. That was a friend that can benefit off of you, like the brother just said, right?
Slick.
But there's people like that in the truth. There's people like that in the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's like it says, Satan comes disguised as the angel of light.
Yeah, very much deception.
Right?
Straight like that.
Tire screech. Right? Hit the brakes real quick.
I'm out of there, buddy. Deuces.
Right? But so I'm gonna read it one more time. It's Proverbs. We're gonna finish with this. Proverbs 30, verse 8. Remove far from me vanity and lies. Give me neither poverty nor riches. Feed me with food convenient for me, lest I be full and deny thee and say, who is Yahweh? Or lest I be poor and steal and take the name of my God in vain. So you don't want too much and you don't want too little. Mm-hmm. And when you're right in the middle, actually, you want to get Hebrews, I believe it's 13, and I think it's 5 or 6, what it says about being content as well. Okay. You want to be in a state of contentment, just like Paul said, right? He knows how to be put up high and he knows how to be abased. Yeah. Right? You have to know both in order to be content in life. And that's just like, I know how to be, I figured this out in jiu-jitsu, right? I was a white belt, brand new, and I was so hungry to learn. I was like first, like they say, first one in the gym, last one out the gym. Mm-hmm. I would. So when I didn't have money, I would mop the mats, and my coach was like, you know what, that'll be your payment. Just mop the mats after practice. That's how hungry I was for it, right? Mm-hmm. Then when I got blue belt, I got kind of prideful. I'm not gonna lie. Then when I got purple belt, it was like I met this black belt who was like, hey, bro, I'm gonna be honest with you, you're super good, like for your level and all this stuff. Because one day I had tapped him out, and after I tapped him out, bro, he was like, it was like a totally different beast. He must have tapped me like 10 times after that in maybe 2-3 rounds, right? And he told me afterwards, he was like, look, I'm gonna be straight up with you. For your level and all this stuff, you're really good, blah blah blah, but don't let it get to your head. Yeah. And he told me what probably all of us have heard, where they say there's always the way my coach would say it, there's always a bigger nigger. That's what he would say.
Motherfucker ready to put you on your shit.
Because you could be at the same level, the same technique, all this. If someone's bigger than you and they have the same technique, they're gonna smash you.
They're gonna catch you by weight.
They're gonna smash you. And I had that happen to me multiple times. And then I was like, you know what? You just gotta keep a white belt mentality. Be humble and always be trying to learn. Even in this truth, it's the same way. Because we get to the point where we're like, oh, well, I've been in the truth this long. But guess what? Like the parable of the penny says, if this brother's been in the truth 1 year and I've been in the truth 6 years, it doesn't matter if we both get the kingdom.
As long as we get there.
Who cares? There could be somebody that comes in the truth for a month, and then Yahushua and the 144,000, the angels come and end this thing, and he makes it too. We can't be prideful and be like, well, I was in the truth for...
You only been there for 30 days.
Right? I made 150 videos, though.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't matter.
Going highways and byways.
It doesn't matter. So being content comes with being humble. And being content comes with a spirit of always trying to progress. Like it says in the title, you always have to be in a humble spirit. You can learn from anybody, right? You can learn anything from anybody. There's my rib sister actually started working with me. I got her a job assembling stuff, right? And this past week on her first day, bro, she's building a grill and she's like, well, the instructions say to do this. And I was like, yeah, that's right. You put the bottom, then you put one of the walls, then you put the other wall, then you put the back of it. And she was like, doesn't it make more sense, or wouldn't it be easier if you put the bottom, you put one wall, and then you put the back? That way you're not trying to like open up the side walls to put the back in it. And I was like, damn, I don't know why I didn't think of that.
Shit, it be like that sometimes.
And it's like that, right? Yep. And it could be with fighting. It could be with building something. It could be in the truth. You can learn from anybody. So if you stay in that, what I would say, or what people would say in jiu-jitsu, a white belt mentality, you're always going to keep progressing.
That's a valuable token right there.
Right? Because you're not going to be in a spirit of pride. Um, the brother said, shaking my head, that's like these Israelite businesses overcharging everything they sell because they know Jake wants to support our people.
They be busting heads.
Khan, I get you on that. I was one of those people that supported a while, I mean, years ago, but it was like, hey, buy this meter. And I was like, all right, support Israelite business.
Yeah, I bought a nigga garment one time. Motherfucking yeah.
I paid probably more than four times as much as what I could have got it for on Amazon.
My rib gonna start making me stuff now. Fuck all that.
Con.
This is Hebrews 13 and verse 5. Let your conversation be without covetousness, and be content with such things as ye have. For he hath said, I will never leave thee nor forsake thee.
Yeah, how is my shepherd I shall not want. Mm-hmm. So if the Most High is not going to leave you, he's not going to forsake you, right? You shouldn't be covetous. You should be content with what you have. And in that contentment, he's going to continue to progress you, right? Because it's like the brother said earlier, like the scriptures say, if you're faithful over a little, he's going to give you more. Yep. Right? If I buy my son an old bike for him to learn, or I get a bike, let's say at the flea market or from a garage sale or something, and I'm like, well, it's just for you to learn. And then he leaves it out in the street and he doesn't take care of it. And he leaves it outside and it gets rained on, it gets rusted up and stuff. And then he's like, hey, Dad, can you buy me a new bike? Well, you didn't even take care of the one that I already got you. So why would? But if he's like, he uses it every day, he puts it away, puts it in the garage, puts it in the barn so it'll stay safe. It won't get all rusted out. He learns how to ride it. When that time comes along where he knows how to ride, and I'm like, you know what? He asked me for a new bike. He took care of this one. He was faithful over a little bit. I'm going to get him another one. I'm going to keep progressing him as long as he keeps progressing, right? So that's the same way the Most High is going to look at us. Because nobody, I've said it many times, no father loves an ungrateful son.
Man, say that shit.
No father loves an ungrateful son, right? No father. So if you're ungrateful, you're not content with what the Most High has already given you a little bit, you should be content. And remember, content, I'm going to get the definition one more time.
Yeah, pull that out. Bring that out.
Right? To be content means to be happy with what you already have. Right? This is content definition. It says in a state of satisfaction or in a state of peaceful happiness. So to be content means to be satisfied and to be at peace with that satisfaction, right? So that doesn't mean, though, to mistake being content with being complacent. And I keep saying that because that was me before, years ago. When I first heard brothers break down, being content means if you have a roof over your head and you have food, that's all you need. And just, seek the kingdom, seek the scriptures, and that's good. If you're a single brother, I agree 100%. Like I said earlier, I could live in a freaking minivan if I would live by myself.
For real, but I promise.
Right? But to whom much is given, much is required. And if you have a family, have children, or if you want to, or you think it's in the Most High's will for you in the time that we have left, then you do have to do more. Right? Mm-hmm. And being content with what you have obviously is something that's necessary or needed, but you also cannot get complacent or become slothful, right? Because we read, slothfulness is going to lead to nothing but bad, mm-hmm. Right? God, like, man, that one gets me, bro. The Israelite businesses overcharging.
They be busting heads,
Con.
Shit crazy, bro. And only be certain. It be the niggas that be, you know what I'm saying, in the camps. That's what I'm saying, bro.
Con. For the most part.
I support, bro. I support them. Don't get me wrong, but damn, dog, like.
Con, to an extent, don't be greedy of gain. Were we not talking about that earlier?
We were just talking about don't be greedy now.
We can't be greedy of gain, right? Me and the brother were talking about that too. Like, we both had opportunities recently where it's like, my boss will tell me, hey, man, you go here, you can make this much money. And I'm like, man, bro, I already made enough this week. I need time with my family. I need rest. I need, and it's all about balance is what it comes down to.
Yep, and my boss, you know what I'm saying, they'll show me. Yeah, I work in the sales field, so they'll show me stats and shit, and I'm doing good because I don't have expectations when I go in there, so they surprise me every time I see it. You know, my supervisor tell me all the time, like, okay, let's shoot for this next time, or let's shoot for this. I'm just like, look, bro, I don't have expectations. I'm cool with whatever the Most High give me. If it so happen to be this, all right, cool. If not, whatever. You know what I mean? I ain't finna come in here and be greedy.
Con, con. So I'm gonna finish with Proverbs 15:16. Better is little with the fear of Yahweh than great treasure and trouble therewith.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you can fear the Most High and be content with what you have, or you can be covetous, right? And everything that comes with that, you may think it's treasures, worldly treasures, whatever the case may be, but there's going to be nothing but trouble that comes with it, right? So the brother said, Khan, I can't support as frequent as I would like as I would like because of the prices.
Mm-hmm.
And in reality, they're doing themselves a disservice a lot of times because if you give a better price, people are going to support more because they're able to financially.
They just don't want to do that much work and stuff.
Right. So in the end, I mean, we all reap what we sow.
Yep.
So you have contentment and progress, being content and continuing to make progress, being built up by the word, like we read in Acts the 20th chapter. Or you can be covetous, and there's nothing more wicked than a covetous man, as we read in Sirach, I believe it was 10.
Yep.
And you can be complacent. Don't let contentment lead to complacency, and instead it should lead to progress. If you're really thankful to the Most High, you're going to put in the work that's necessary to continue to be making progress, right? So, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai Barakatah to all the brothers and sisters that are on here right now, that were on here earlier, that are going to see this later. Most High willing, it edifies and gets at least one person to repent, whether it be of complacency, of covetousness, or any other thing. Because, like it says in Luke, 15, I believe, that when one sinner repents, all the angels in heaven rejoice. So we know this truth isn't about numbers. The Most High is not a God of numbers, or else He would have just made everybody in order to make it to the kingdom, right?
The water for you brothers, adding your brick in sincerely, man. All praises to Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua, man.
Khan. Yahweh, Ba'asham Yahweh Shai Barakatah, Kahalau Yahweh, Ba'asham Hamashiach Yahweh Shai. Shalom to the 12 tribes scattered to the four corners of the earth. And as always, all praises to the Most High through His Son, Yahweh Shai. Shalom, shalom.